Mortem would like to thank Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Original Cinematic is an independent production company that has made it their mission to create, produce, and promote films that are inclusive, honor women, promote the LGBTQIA+ community, and provide prominent positions and roles to POC actors and filmmakers, and promote the films of marginalized and underrepresented populations. These are all things that are extremely important to our podcast as well.
Original Cinematic is currently accepting scripts and treatments. Both William and Xxena Rush are also available via email or Zoom to discuss writing and provide input and resources to all aspiring writers free of charge. Their information will be made available in the show notes. There may be delays due to a hectic schedule and all projects being read on a first-come, first-served basis, but everything will be read and responded to. William Rush has individually produced numerous projects, including Pack is Here, Before, The Cottage, The Winemaker, and Day by Day. Their award-winning film Group premiered and was celebrated at multiple film festivals as well as screenings both in person and via Zoom that was graciously made available to us and our patrons.
Original Cinematic has many exciting projects on the horizon. Their next film, Immersion, has been completed. The award-winning Sweetener is in development. Fetish begins shooting in September, and Encore will begin next spring. Their documentary, Women in Conversation, is slated for a September release, and we are looking forward to each and every one of them. It is truly an honor to partner with Original Cinematic, and we can't thank them enough for their contribution to our show. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Reneé Hunter-Vasquez, joined as always by my co-host, my husband, and my brother.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Travis Hunter-Sayapin.
This week, we're recording live from the Quality Wash and Dry Laundromat discussing the 2005 supernatural horror film, The Skeleton Key. This film was directed by Iain Softley and written by Aaron Kruger. Utilizing its beautiful and culturally complex Louisiana setting, The Skeleton Key roots its story in fact, refusing to shy away from the dark chapters of American history. It chooses instead to weave this history into the context of the film. Boasting impressive production design, intriguing scares, and committed performances, even now, 20 years later, The Skeleton Key is still a unique entry in the early 2000s horror genre. This film was requested to us by friends of the show, Amy Mulder, Megan Martinez, Deontay L. Harris, Noreen S., Ambular Belladonna, Blaine Hancock, Tanner Rutgers, Brittany, Stephen Junius, Brooklyn Gal, Robin, Felnez63, Erica, Madison Yaps, George L. Robertson, Mercedes X. Bleeple, Beth Bauer, Martin Shaw, Autumn C., Gordon Sutherland, and Books and Bays. We want to thank them all for their support as well as this suggestion. So, what did you guys think of The Skeleton Key the first time you saw it?
I don't remember when it was, but I know you showed me this movie, babe.
It was like some months ago.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I don't want to say, well, it was, and I don't really remember. Mm-hmm. But I know I had heard of it, and I had seen like the poster for it or like the cover. I just had never watched it. Your sister had asked me a few times, and I was like, no, I don't know anything about it. Like I said, she showed it to me. We watched it together, and then I did like it. And then watching it for the show, I still do like it. There's a few things a few gripes I have, but it's just a few funny things. But it is a pretty good movie. I did enjoy this. Peter Sarsgaard, he does, you know what I mean? He's here. He does a good job. Kate Hudson, fantastic job. There's a few people in here. Jenna Rowlands and John Hurt.
Yes.
Big names.
Yeah.
And they're here. I mean, they do a good job. This was a really good movie. This would be the second time that I watched it, but I still really enjoyed it.
We watched this so many times growing up. Mm-hmm. I can't even count on several hands.
Yeah.
But I do recall really being impressed the first time I watched it, because I think I was like 14 or something.
Mm-hmm.
The twist.
Yeah.
That is what stayed with me more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
And I worried coming back to it, because it's been many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
I worried how it all would hold up.
Right.
If the unveiling of the twist would still work, if the entire film itself would still be something worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think it is.
Yeah.
I was very, very surprised, because there's a lot of, I've made it clear many times in the past, early 2000s is not my favorite. But that's not to say there aren't a lot of gems in that era. And I really do. I think that this is one of them.
Right.
And I can't agree with you more regarding the cast.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they all put in really, really good performances, and they're all so nuanced.
Yeah.
Because once you realize what's going on,
Yes.
certain moments and certain looks even
Yes.
are so crucial, and you're like, that's what you're trying to convey.
Yes.
It's really, really good work. And I just think that there is something very special about the atmosphere of this film.
Yeah.
And I know all three of us have a lifelong fascination with New Orleans in particular.
Yes.
This culture in the state of Louisiana that just seems so fascinating.
Yes.
And I did want to say that I really do feel like, especially through the music and the places that they go and the story that they tell,
Yeah.
I feel like, and I didn't do the research on this aspect of it per se, there is some stuff that comes up in the music, but it seemed to me that the filmmakers really, really tried to pay proper respect to the culture and to the region.
Right.
Which is something that I really, really appreciated coming back to it all these years later.
Yeah.
But I think that this is one to watch if you haven't seen it before. And also just, dude, the skeleton key is like one of the coolest terms I've ever heard in my life. So just on a surface level, I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, as you said, T, we watched this a lot. I would call this a hyperfixation film for sure. I think that it introduces so many things that, looking back, I hate to keep saying this, but this movie is 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so looking back, it is, something that when it came out, those were kind of formative years. And it's so many things that I'm very interested in now represented in this film.
Yeah.
And you wonder how much of that was planted, this like T was saying, this love of New Orleans. I mean, just the settings of the swamps and the Spanish moss and the jazz and I don't know. It's a place I've never been. And I feel like homesick for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the occult and witchcraft and all of these things that as an adult, I'm very interested in, I enjoy, and it's like how I feel like maybe a little seed was planted by this film when I was a teenager. But I will agree with you, T. The research that I've done, it feels like they did pay as much respect as possible to there's some very culturally heavy themes and beliefs that are touched upon in this film, things that can't, and I don't mean to take it here, like maybe be fully properly expressed by a white director and a white screenwriter. But it seems that they had, a lot of consultants on board that were steering them in the direction to keep it as authentic as they could.
Okay.
Things like specifically going out of their way to define the difference between hoodoo and voodoo, like explicitly within the film so that there's no confusion. I think that is admirable, to pay respect in that way instead of just, we're just going to snatch this up and use it to make a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still, that's the thing, is I don't know if I'm so clouded by how much I've always loved this movie that I'm just always going to love it, or if it really does hold up. But to me, it really does hold up. Like you said, John Paul, I made you watch this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a handful of months ago because I couldn't believe you'd never seen it. And getting to cover it is a treat, just because before that, it had been a while since I revisited it. And the twist ending is something that always stayed with me. There are shots of this that I remembered, just like burned into my brain from watching it so much. But I don't know. It's just, I think everybody shows up. Everybody does a really great job. And the story that they're telling is there's an aspect to this story, again, as many times as I watched it as a teenager, that I did not fully grasp until you and I watched it, John Paul, some months ago.
Yeah.
And the credits were rolling and I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was that thing was part.
Yeah.
But we'll talk. I can't give it away right now, but there's nuances that you don't fully understand, and watching it as an adult, I was like, dude, that's even more fucked up than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I love this movie. I know that it's not perfect, and I think that there are a couple moments where maybe some edits feel weird, or it almost feels like things are in the wrong order. Just like nitpicky things where you can tell, and you know, Softley said it explicitly on the commentary for the DVD that a lot was cut out to keep it PG-13.
Oh, wow.
And so I think maybe we are seeing like responses or moments leading up to things that we don't necessarily get in the final version of it. But it's like, dude, if you just let yourself be taken away for fucking an hour and 40 minutes, I think that you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to touch on a very brief production that I was able to put together before we get started. I got my information from as I said, the commentary track on the DVD and the making of featurettes on the DVD, as well as Entertainment Weekly, IGN, and blackfilm.com.
Okay.
The story begins when screenwriter Aaron Kruger is inspired by the inherent human need to know what's behind a locked door. Which is true.
Mm-hmm.
And we have talked about Kruger before, as he wrote the screenplays for the American remake of The Ring and also The Ring 2 and
Okay.
Scream 3.
The screenplay.
The screenplay, yes. But he loved the gothic idea of a skeleton key that could open every room in a big old house except for one. And that would automatically make that room the most interesting one in the house. So he was writing to figure out for himself what was in that room, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The finished screenplay ends up on the desk of producer Daniel Bobker, who loved it when he read it, but knew that they would need the right director to bring it to life. He first thought of Iain Softley, who had previously done the psychological drama K-Pax. Iain Softley had been interested in making a supernatural thriller, and he loved the screenplay when he read it, and the fact that it took place in New Orleans, a place that he had always wanted to make a film. That only sweetened the deal, and he was on board. By all accounts, it was just that simple.
Oh, wow.
I scoured every version of this. It's like, no, I gave it to him, and then he said yes.
All right.
Okay. So,
Sometimes you get lucky.
yeah. So they filmed The Skeleton Key in the spring of 2004, and it would premiere in theaters in the summer of 2005, where it may or may not have become a teenage fixation film for certain people. And while the critical reception of the film was mixed to poor, it would make nearly $94 million against its $43 million budget.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got.
Very good.
Let's talk about The Skeleton Key. Now, before we cast a spell on this film, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Mortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, then let's unlock the door. After a twang of bluesy guitar, the film begins with a voice reading an excerpt from Treasure Island. This is over a shot of a large oak tree, swaying Spanish moss hanging from its crooked branches and dripping with water. We find Treasure Island in the hands of Caroline Ellis, played by Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson, she was in Gossip in 2000, Almost Famous in 2000, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days in 2003, and Song Sung Blue in 2025.
It was that role in Almost Famous that made them think of her for this.
Okay.
But she said that she was given the script when she was shooting Raising Helen, and that she had never really been interested in doing horror films. So she had just meant to skim the first page when she was on break, and she ended up reading the entire screenplay in like 45 minutes and loving it. She said that it just felt different than the other horror and thriller scripts that she'd been sent. And Softley said that when they met, he was struck by how much Kate Hudson seemed very similar to the character Caroline Ellis, and he knew she'd be perfect for it.
Okay.
Because he said that she seems when you speak to her, she's serious and mature beyond, because they're both like 25.
Uh-huh.
The character and Kate Hudson at this point.
I swear I thought you were going to say seemed so similar to Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
So similar. I will say too, I was struck again and again in this film by how much she sounds like her mother. Like her voice, I was like, dude, that's crazy. But like, duh. But anyway, soon after accepting the role, Kate Hudson would find out that she was pregnant, and the entire production would be delayed 8 months.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But they waited for her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She sits next to a bed, reading out loud to the patient inside, Mr. Talcott, played by Bill H. McKenzie. She continues to read, holding on to the red book, and we get more shots of the towering tree, healing beams of sunlight peeking through its bent branches, the dripping greenery swaying in the breeze. When we return to Mr. Talcott, he is slowly closing his eyes. Caroline's gentle voice halts when she looks up at him, and she finally closes the book. Caroline stands next to Mr. Talcott and quietly brings her fingers to his wrist. After checking for a pulse, Caroline looks at his face solemnly. When Nurse Audrey, played by Tanya Staten, walks by the open door, Caroline stops her with an apology. She reports that Mr. Talcott is gone. Audrey's lips press together at the news, but she quickly accepts it with the quiet, okay, and continues past the room. The band around Mr. Talcott's wrist is clipped. A tag is added to his toe, and he is zipped into a body bag. A framed photograph of Mr. Talcott and his wife is taken off of the dresser and placed into a box with the rest of his belongings. A CNA, played by Anne Dalrymple, hands the box over to Caroline before leaving the room with the departing order for Caroline to bring the box to the front desk in case anyone shows. I saw a deleted scene on the DVD that as his things are being packed up from his room, the desk nurse is already on the phone telling somebody that there's a bed available for their mother now.
Oh, wow.
So I honestly feel like they should have kept that in, because I feel like it adds to kind of the motivation for Caroline moving forward. Like this, like, I think they called it like Softley called it this conveyor belt, like one's out, let's get another one in mentality or the way that she's perceiving that.
Where it's not who's in the bed, it's just filling a bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Caroline goes through the box of Mr. Talcott's things as she sits in the lobby. She looks at the framed photograph, at Mr. Talcott's anti-war buttons, and finally at a keychain in the shape of a guitar with the advice, live fast, die young. She puts it back and closes the box when the desk nurse, played by Deneen Tyler, warns that she's going to be waiting for a while. Caroline doesn't understand. Didn't they call? Mr. Talcott said he had a family. The desk nurse confirms that he did, but they don't want to have anything to do with him.
I'm
like,
sorry?
Yeah, what?
That's the backstory. Because Mr. Talcott, looking at his shit, he seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's got a picture of him and his wife.
Yeah.
You know. God.
Anti-war buttons. I don't
And they're
know.
like, fuck that guy. But why?
She tells Caroline that she can dump the box out back, and she walks away, leaving Caroline confused. Outside, she opens the dumpster to dispose of Mr. Talcott's things, but the contents inside make her pause. The dumpster is cluttered with identical boxes of personal effects, all left behind by the patients and unclaimed by their families. Instead of adding Mr. Talcott's box to this graveyard, Caroline closes the dumpster and takes it with her.
This is just such a tragic sight.
Yeah.
People's entire lives put into a box and thrown into a dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was an opening. I was like, damn, you got to bring us here already?
Yeah.
I do want to say on the other side of it, though, I don't know how long that she's been taking care of him, but I do feel some type of way about her stealing his shit, too. Because
Stealing?
now I understand it was just going to go into a dumpster anyway, but it's also like if I know that you have a really sincere connection with Mr. Talcott, then it's like, okay, you're taking this because it's like nobody else cares about him. I do.
He meant something to you.
But if you're just like, well, waste not, want not. Take it.
There's a couple cool things in here.
Yeah. You see that keychain?
Yeah.
The keychain was cool. I'm assuming the best because she was reading to him very, kindly.
Right.
I'm going to assume that she was taking care of him for a while and they were best friends.
Okay.
Later, Caroline sits in a streetcar with headphones over her ears. She holds a newspaper in her hands, but looks instead out the window at the historic streets of New Orleans, its buildings, and its people. Finally, she lowers her eyes to the open newspaper and something catches her eye. Seeking hospice caretaker, Terrebonne Parish, full-time, live-in, $1,000 a week. Beneath is the carefully crafted phone number, 555-0155. Caroline circles the ad multiple times in blue pen. As the streetcar carries her away, jazz music mounts, and the scene shifts to the Half Moon Bar and Grill, where the lively band plays for the patrons.
I did see in a featurette, it was the music supervisor, Sarah Lord. She had talked about discovering this band. It's the Rebirth Brass Band.
Okay.
And they are very, very well known in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
They had featured them and talked to them in that featurette as well. And they had talked about even going to play in Japan, Africa, Cuba, Germany, Switzerland, and even England.
Damn. Hell yeah.
I think they said they've played for kings and queens and presidents and everything. So
nice.
They have a pretty far-reaching sound.
Hell yeah.
But this is actually a real club in New Orleans. They said it was called the Make Believe Club.
Oh, all right.
Which is a pretty cool name.
Yes.
And I think that it was really cool because they are actually playing, the Rebirth Brass Band, they're playing for real in this scene.
Oh, all right.
And they said it also helps as far as like a character standpoint of defining Caroline's connections to this New Orleans culture. Even if in just a few minutes she doesn't really dance properly to what's being played.
I was gonna wait to call her out then because
John Paul said the same.
Okay. Yeah, I love the music.
Yes,
I love the music. I don't know if she was really feeling it like she should have.
That's not how you dance to that.
but I guess go off,
Whatever's in your soul.
Yeah.
We were in slow motion.
Okay.
At one of the booths, Caroline sits with her roommate and best friend, Jill, played by Joy Bryant.
Joy Bryant, she was in Showtime in 2002, Antoine Fisher in 2002, Honey in 2003, and Bobby in 2006.
Hey, I do want to say I understand that this is Caroline's story.
Mm-hmm.
I want more Jill in this film.
Yeah. I like Jill.
Yeah.
And I feel like she is kind of a voice of reason, and maybe if we had more of her, we'd be more angry at Caroline for not listening.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe it is a good balance, but I like her character a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline passes her the newspaper ad for the job with the news that she interviews tomorrow. Jill is surprised. She asks Caroline, "What about your job?" But Caroline shakes her head. She's had enough of that place. As the waitress comes over with their beers, Jill asks her what happened. Caroline reveals that she lost Mr. Talcott today. Jill offers her sympathies, but Caroline has more. She tells Jill that she should have seen it. As soon as he died, it was like they couldn't wait to get him out of there. It's all just a business to them.
She's like, I got all his stuff, though.
Don't you worry about that. Jill counters that it is a business, but at least Mr. Talcott had her. But Caroline offers nuance. It's supposed to be a business about caring, but they couldn't care less. Looking down at the paper again, Jill realizes that this is in Terrebonne Parish. That's the swamps. Instead of addressing this, Caroline lists out the pros. She'll get the hours she needs to start nursing school, she'll get paid, and she'll get to help someone her way. Jill proposes that they have gators in the swamps, though, and guys missing teeth. But Caroline is more concerned with if they're going to dance or not. She gets up, taking a sip from her beer, but Jill stops her with concern. Is she sure that this work isn't changing her? Caroline grins that she's 25 years old. What's wrong with the little change?
That question is very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Caroline and Jill get on the dance floor and dance to the infectious jazz.
In their own way.
Yeah.
It's slow motion,
Kind
like
of, yeah.
Juvenile said.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't quite what Juvenile meant,
No.
but it is what he said.
He's like, this is not what I had in mind.
Very disappointing. Yes.
The music of the band is taken over by Death Letter by Johnny Farmer as we leave the club and find Caroline behind the wheel of her red Volkswagen Bug traveling down the highway. I did clock immediately that the car is red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I really like this song.
Yes.
It kind of bookends the movie.
Yeah.
It's really good.
They had said on commentary, I believe, Softley, he had said it was very important for them to include the Delta blues, which we talked a lot about on Sinners.
We did.
But he had said that, and it was a really good quote, he said, the Delta blues is a reservoir of the oral tradition of the area.
Oh, okay.
And he said that Caroline is kind of like the bridge between these things where she has this cultural respect for the history of the region, but she's also very modern in her own way. And so you have this remix of a Delta blues song.
Like a modernization of it.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Mr. Talcott's guitar-shaped keychain dangles from the ignition, reminding her, live fast, die young. She consults her map as she drives past fields and swamps. When she passes two old women huddled beneath an umbrella and pushing a shopping cart on the side of the road, she twists her head to look back at them. Long after she's gone, they continue forward, inching slowly toward their destination. The trees flanking the road grow denser, but when Caroline spots a sign posted at the fork of another dirt road, private residence, no admittance, she turns left. While the words on this sign are printed on faded white wood, the one below it is makeshift with a simpler scrawled sentiment, keep out. But Caroline enters, taking the long road shrouded by the dreamy crooked trees up to the sprawling plantation house.
This path is gorgeous.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
They had talked about it in a featurette. I guess they referred to this path as Evergreen.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that's the name of the actual path. I looked it up and it seems to be.
Okay.
But they had said that they had wanted a kind of dramatic entrance for Caroline into this house. But this path is nowhere near the house that they actually used for the film. And so what they did is at the end of the path, they built a facade of a 1920s plantation house.
Ah, okay.
And so you can connect these two places that aren't really connected, and then we can get to the real place that we use later.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The long, like, tree-lined road going up to this, did it make y'all think of that house in Red Dead 2?
Absolutely, dude.
I thought of Stay Alive as well a little bit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because I guess Elizabeth Bathory also lived in
Yes, yeah.
a plantation house in New Orleans,
There's a lot going on in New Orleans.
designing video games and
Yeah.
shit.
Well,
Looking up at the columns, the veranda, the sheer size of the house, Caroline can't help but comment, "Oh my God." She gets out of her car, taking her bag with her and eyeing the high attic window as she closes the door. We see her reflection in her side mirror as Caroline walks up to the porch. One of the chairs sways back and forth on its own in the breeze, and when Caroline knocks on the screen door, no one answers. She opens it and knocks on the door instead, but when she still receives no response to her tentative calls of hello, Caroline opens the unlocked door and steps inside the house.
why?
She was watching Texas Chainsaw last night.
I get it. I get it. But do you remember what happened there?
Yeah, she didn't finish it.
No. Well, there better be a laughing chicken in there as well.
The inside is still and empty, with operatic music playing softly. Caroline is startled when she nearly runs into a statue of a saint. He matches the religious artwork on the walls. Still, no one answers when Caroline calls, but when she passes the kitchen, she peeks inside. Something is boiling on the stove. The sink is full of dishes. The table is cluttered with a cutting board and chopped vegetables, amongst an inviting pitcher of sweet tea and 2 used glasses. Caroline continues past through the back door where she finally finds the owners of the house in the distance, surrounded by greenery and flowers.
So this house that they used is the Felicity Plantation in Louisiana.
Oh, shit.
And so what's interesting about it is that originally they were told that they could only film the exteriors. On that featurette, and this is a very strange way to put it, and I have no closure on this anecdote, but the director said that was the law of the land and they weren't going to get inside the house until the producer, Clayton Townsend, seduced the family and then they could. And I'm like, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, hold on.
I would like to know more.
Yeah. Can you finish that story?
You can't just say stuff. But the very interesting thing about it is that they were originally not even going to film on location, period.
Oh.
They had a very poor scouting experience trying to find the right house. And then what they decided to do is they're like, you know what? We can't find it. It's just, that is what it is. Let's build our own house on a studio lot in California.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like, we're going to really be sacrificing a lot if we do that. They're getting on the plane the next day to go do this, and they get the call that Kate Hudson is pregnant.
Ah.
And so now they have 8 more months to go search for the right house.
Yeah.
And they find it.
So it was a blessing in more ways than one, it sounds like.
What's interesting, though, is John Beard, the production designer, this is his 4th collaboration with Softley.
Damn.
And so they have, of course, their own shorthand of working together.
Mm-hmm.
But what is so cool is that there are interiors of this house that are used, and sometimes they're not the interiors of the house, and they are a set that was built in California.
Huh.
And so it is imperceptible.
Yeah.
And that's what Softley had said about John Beard's designs. He said, I tell him very often that it's like he hasn't done anything at all because he's done so much.
Yeah.
That's when you know.
Yes.
That's crazy.
The older couple have their back to Caroline, the man sitting in his wheelchair and the woman standing behind him, sweetly cutting his hair with scissors. This is Violet and Ben Devereaux, played by Jenna Rollins and John Hurt.
Jenna Rollins, she was in A Woman Under the Influence in 74, Gloria in 80, Something to Talk About in 95, and Taking Lives in 04.
I think Taking Lives is Ethan Hawke, and
There you go.
That's right.
there you go. Yeah.
She's also a 4-time Emmy and 2-time Golden Globe winner.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's incredible in this.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
John Hurt. Long list of work. He did the voice of Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings animated version from 78.
Wow.
He was also an alien in 79.
Mm-hmm. Got his chest bursted.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. History of the World Part 1 in 81. He's also in Hellboy in 04.
Really?
That's right.
Is that a sly clue that we need to cover it?
Wink, Softley said that he was thrilled that an actor of John Hurt's caliber would be willing to play a role that barely speaks at all.
Yeah.
But he said that it was John Hurt's experience and talent that elevated this character with the way that he could portray emotion with just his eyes or his face.
Yeah.
It makes me almost think about what we talked about last week
Yeah.
as far as conveying so much by using so little.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Caroline starts toward them, but she stops when someone speaks up behind her. She turns to find Luke Marshall, played by Peter Sarsgaard, who asserts in his southern accent that right there is what love is all about. Old-fashioned devotion, like what you read about.
Peter Sarsgaard, we did talk about him in Orphan in 09.
Son of a bitch.
He was also, though, in The Man in the Iron Mask in 98 and Dead Man Walking in 95.
I feel like he's one of those actors that when he pops up, you're happy to see him.
Yeah. Unless he's an orphan.
Playing, yeah.
Because I was not happy to see him.
Oh my God.
He's one of the worst. Oh my God. But he's really good in this.
Mhm.
Yes.
He holds a very full box in his hands as he nods and assumes that she must be Caroline. Caroline offers her apologies for letting herself inside and tells him that she knocked, but no one answered. Luke isn't bothered. He reasons that it's a big house. He just didn't hear her. He takes a step toward her, and suddenly the bottom falls out of the large box he's holding, spilling out paperwork and full folders. Luke guesses that they must be getting their affairs in order. Caroline stoops to help him pick up the papers, and Luke squats as well, offering his hand for her to shake. As she does, he introduces himself and reveals that he's the estate lawyer and that they talked on the phone. Caroline nods, realizing that they did. Luke confides that the doctor figures Ben has about a month left, and Violet is having kind of a rough time with it. Violet eyes them coldly as they talk. Handing over the papers and standing, Caroline surmises that most people do. Luke stands too and calls over Violet, who pats Ben's chest before walking over to them. Luke makes the introduction, sharing that Caroline works at the hospice in New Orleans. Violet says nothing. When Luke introduces Caroline to Violet Devereaux, Caroline compliments her lovely home. Instead of answering this, Violet's eyes move from Caroline right to Luke, and she walks away without a word.
Interesting reaction.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It seems rude as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she seems nice.
Gonna get along just fine.
Luke apologizes for Violet's behavior and explains that it's just hard, the thought of someone living here. But Caroline interrupts him. She really does understand. Luke continues that Violet is Old South. She thinks that women still curtsy. Caroline offers a thin smile before turning to look at Ben, who still sits with his back to them. She confirms with Luke that Ben can't talk at all. Luke cites the stroke Ben suffered, and when Caroline asks what side was affected, he answers, both. They walk over to Ben, and Luke continues that it happened about a month ago up in the attic. That's where Violet found him.
Now, I'm not a doctor, but that almost kind of felt like spinal.
It's just like,
yeah.
Don't ask any more questions.
Yeah.
We've hardly explained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once they reach Ben, Luke calls to him gently and introduces him to his visitor, Miss Caroline Ellis. Caroline tells him hello and repeats her name, but Luke departs as Violet walks back over. Caroline stays with Ben, but she can hear Violet snap at Luke that Caroline isn't from here. She's not going to understand the house. Luke asserts that she's from New Orleans, but Violet counters in her drawl that she wasn't raised there. You hear how she talks? Who knows where she comes from? Still standing next to Ben, Caroline solves the mystery for Violet. Hoboken, New Jersey. Violet looks displeased, and Luke asks dismissively, "What do you want? A Southern accent?" Which isn't... It's interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, again, a lot of stuff is really, really neatly recontextualized.
Yes.
Right.
He pulls her to the side and reminds her that the last one left. Violet nods, annoyed, before conceding in a quiet, "All right." But as she walks away, she repeats that Caroline is still not going to understand the house. Luke scoffs, and Caroline grabs onto a piece of the conversation. "So the last girl left, huh?" We cut to Caroline leaving the house with Luke trailing behind her, imploring her to let him straighten things out with Violet. Caroline keeps walking, though, pointing out that she can't help anyone who doesn't want her help. Luke offers that it's not that Violet doesn't want it. She's just scared. Caroline quips, "Of what? Politeness?" But Luke says no. Ben is the love of her life, and he's dying. They've been together forever, and she's losing her soulmate.
Caroline, aren't you in the fucking
care
business?
Yeah.
Like, what's her problem? She's going through the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
When he said that, it's like, she's not rude. She's fucking, like, I can't imagine. And then what he says in a minute, it's like, or in a little bit, I don't remember what he says, but the fact of what her being here would mean,
Yeah.
the reality of Caroline moving into this house, what that means. It's like, give her a break, dude. Yeah, that was rude. Give her a break. Caroline opens the door to her car and leans inside to put her bag in. Luke says that he doesn't know about Caroline, but that would put some sandpaper up his ass. Caroline mutters, "Aren't you a romantic?" And she stands to face Luke as he levels with her. The last girl quit. Caroline is the 5th interview she's had since. She shoots down everyone. Caroline looks up at the second floor window where she sees the curtains moving from someone peering out at them.
I know she owns the place, but she's not even trying to be
No.
inconspicuous.
And the way he's making it seem a little bit, I'm like, oh, so you're saying she's just mean?
Yeah.
Because he's like, look, she just shoots him down. What does that mean, dude? Like,
It's like she's not being mean to you. Like, this is just how she is.
I get it, but then again, so you're just saying she's a bitch or something? It's like, that's not cool.
He's like, now move in with her. Luke tells her that it's not personal. Caroline being here means that Ben is really dying. But Caroline counters that Ben is dying whether she's here or not, which is a little cold.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about, where it's like there is a reality and kind of an acceptance and an inevitability that comes with, okay, you're here now to help him transition.
Yeah.
That is, very sad and difficult.
It is, and I would feel like Caroline of all
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the conversation she had with Jill.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. That's what she was saying.
She's like, I'm proud of being from New Jersey, okay?
That really stung.
She wonders what Violet meant about the house. Luke is like, what? Caroline reminds him that Violet said she wouldn't understand the house. What does that mean? Luke shrugs that all he knows is that the check's clear. He tells her to forget it, and if it makes her feel any better, he's still looking for his dream job too. He turns and starts back toward the house, but Caroline stops him. If he did talk to Violet, what would he say? Luke would say that Violet can look all she wants, but he doubts she'll find anyone better than Caroline, so she'd do well to treat her like it. The look on Caroline's face indicates that this might have been the right thing to say. On the street in the city, Caroline packs up her bug with Jill, who has some rules for her. No knitting, no joining a bridge club, and no playing bingo. Caroline agrees to the terms and decides that they're good rules, but Jill tells her that she's serious. They'll try to suck Caroline into their elderly ways. Caroline assures Jill that it's less than an hour away. She'll be back all the time. Slamming the trunk shut, Jill agrees that she better whenever Caroline wants to talk to someone who wasn't around for World War II. Caroline is like, what is it with you and old people? But instead of answering, Jill pulls Caroline into a tight hug. She tells her, he'd be proud of you. You know he would. As Barefoot Dancing by Blackbud plays, we find Caroline making her journey through the scenic route to her new temporary home. But when her eyes drop to the gas gauge, she finds that it is fully on E.
What the hell?
Yeah, and it was going down.
Yeah.
It's like, you got a gas leak. That's a different problem.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's less than an hour away. And I gotta say, I think that Jill, maybe she is being a little weird and rude about the elderly.
Yeah.
But I think that she's handling this very well when her roommate is like, okay, I'm leaving next week. So figure it out.
Yeah.
Caroline stops at a gas station, and after filling her car, she heads toward the store. She notices a line of crushed red brick that she has to step over to enter. Still, she goes inside to find the counter empty, save for some oysters set on a damp newspaper page next to a knife. Caroline calls out. She needs to pay for some gas, but her only response is low preaching coming from the record player. Flies buzz around her as she eyes the inside of the store, looking at a framed photograph of a man set by the record player. We may be seeing this later.
Mm-hmm.
Take a note. A baby screams in the distance, and Caroline heads in that direction, finding a screen door with no one in sight behind it. She asks, is somebody back there? Again, no one answers. Caroline looks around the dimly lit store, taking in the crocodile decor, heads repeated on the counter with their maws open, wide and hungry, baring sharp teeth. But with her back turned, someone has appeared beyond the screen door, and it's not until Caroline turns back that she sees her. The Bayou Woman, played by Marion Zinzer. Her eyes are completely white, and she stares at Caroline blindly, clutching the baby to her chest.
Marion Zinzer. She was in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button in 2008.
Oh, wow.
And The Adventures of Huck Finn in 93.
Interesting.
Yeah.
She's a local, or was a local New Orleans actress.
Oh, okay.
They had said that they tried to get as many locals as they could to be in the film, which it's really cool.
Yeah.
Caroline pulls in a ragged gasp of fear before apologizing and explaining again that she just needs to buy some gas. A younger woman steps out from behind the Bayou woman. Eyeing Caroline coldly, she takes the old woman by the shoulders and leads her away.
Is this not a gas station? Are these private pumps? Like, why is everybody treating me like shit?
Yeah.
Just because I want to
Trying
support
to
your
pay.
business.
Yeah, I already pumped the gas.
Yeah, so I'm leaving no matter what.
The baby coos and fusses lightly, and once they're out of sight, Caroline turns to leave. But she's startled, and admittedly, so was I, when she runs right into the gas station owner, played by Isaac de Boncolet.
Isaac de Boncolet. He was in Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai in 99, Casino Royale in 06, The Last Witch Hunter in 15, and Shaft in 2019.
Hey.
Damn. A hanging trinket of bones is suspended overhead, and Caroline has to brush it away from her hair when she backs into it. So these mobiles of bones, we see them a lot. They are real, and they are a common component in hoodoo rituals. They're made of raccoon penis bones.
Huh.
Raccoons have bones in their penises, and they're used ritualistically to bring, from what I was able to research, luck and romance, money and gambling.
Oh, wow.
And so them being like clustered together and hanging, it's a very common occurrence, a common practice, and these were real.
Okay.
The bones clatter together as the gas station owner takes out a knife and starts to shuck an oyster, speaking to her in French. When she just stares at him, he asks her in French if she speaks it. Caroline still doesn't respond, so the man switches to English. 17 for the gas. Caroline nods, fishes a 20 out of her pocket, and hands it over. As she leaves the gas station, she tells him to keep the change. The gas station owner turns to watch her leave, slurping his oyster.
I've never had an oyster in my life. This seems possibly like the worst conditions to have to enjoy an
You mean
oyster.
warm on
Warm.
It's a little warm out.
Yeah.
Walking around with
Like,
it in the
oh
hand.
my God. Yeah, it's not a
Yeah,
hand food.
no,
Well, it's fresh. I mean, they live on the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
had an oyster either. I'm a little afraid of the texture. But
Me too.
I'd like to try one.
Under the right conditions.
Under the
Yeah,
not in this place.
No.
Not off the counter.
I've tried them once. I wasn't a fan.
Oh.
Yeah,
The texture seems
that's what
worrisome.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Devereaux house, Caroline sets up her room. She takes out a framed photograph of herself as a little girl with her father and takes a long, lingering look at it before placing it on her bedside table. Softley had said that they tried photos of several other people for this before just deciding to use one of Kate Hudson as a child.
I will tell you, it feels as though, at least from what I saw, that they barely used the photo of Kate Hudson as a child. Whoever Photoshop for Beginners is a book that we'll find, I believe. Because I was like, I don't understand why it's always the case.
It always looks off.
I know.
Even now, they had a picture of Uma Thurman and Dexter Resurrection, and I was like, who the fuck did that? This is a tragedy.
Come to the front of the class.
Yes, because you're out. You're out of the program.
She grabs up her toiletries and takes them to her bathroom, but she pauses when she removes something nailed up on the wall to reveal that where the bathroom mirror once was is just an empty space. Caroline leaves her room and calls out for Mrs. Devereaux to tell her that she's unpacked. But when she switches the light on, she finds another empty space where a mirror once was. She heads upstairs where Ben lies in his bed. She asks if he remembers her and reminds him that she's Caroline. She's going to be taking care of him for a while. Ben's eyes flit to her and he widens them silently. Caroline switches on the bedside lamp, pointing out that he doesn't have much light in here. Indicating the music coming from his record player, she comments that he's a blues fan. She straightens the bedding around him, but suddenly, Ben strikes out and grabs her wrist in a tight, painful clutch. Caroline tells him that he has to let go. He's hurting her. But Ben is just staring at her intently as she tries to pry his fingers away. He doesn't let go until Violet enters the room, announcing coldly that it's time for Ben's remedies. She takes Caroline's place next to the bed, telling her, "Scoot over, child." In her hand, she holds a small glass bowl of cloudy liquid. She educates Caroline. Ben takes his pills in powder form at 9 in the morning and 7 at night. She'll show Caroline how. She tips the glass up to Ben's lips, and as he drinks it down, she asserts that Caroline needs to make sure he gets it all down. When Caroline asks what Ben is taking, Violet is slightly dismissive. "Oh, Coumadin and such." She cautions that Ben gets the tremors, but don't let that frighten her. Violet plants a kiss on Ben's forehead and adds, "And a kiss to make it taste better." She leaves Ben's bedside, passing Caroline and commenting that she's scrawnier than she'd hoped she'd be. She is prettier, though, which is an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
She bets that Caroline is all marked up, isn't she? When Caroline doesn't understand, Violet reiterates, "Written on." She knows all the young people are always jabbing themselves with ink and needles. She's written on, isn't she? Caroline grins. "Not where you can see."
Are you flirting with me?
Yeah, I know. What the fuck?
Maybe you'll find out.
Play your cards right. Violet turns with a surprised, "Well." She continues her instructions. Ben needs to be bathed daily and his linens need to be changed, but she shouldn't bother with housework because Violet is the only one that knows how. Caroline asks how long the two of them have lived here, and as Violet arranges a vase of bright flowers, she says that they came over from Savannah in 1962. They bought this house from a brother and sister who had inherited it long ago from their parents. She leads Caroline to a mantle, continuing that the brother and sister had lived there since they were children. She points to a black and white photo in an expensive frame, and there they are, as children, Martin and Grace Thorpe, played by Forrest Landis and Jamie Lee Redmond.
Forrest Landis, he's in Cheaper by the Dozen 1 and 2 from 03 and 05, and Flight Plan in 05.
Okay,
Right.
It was a busy year for him.
Yeah.
We press in on their smiling faces before going back to Violet, who explains that they were charming, but they fell on hard times and had to sell. Caroline questions, "You keep their picture?" Violet says that she does. She likes to pay her respects to the memories of this house.
I understand it might be peculiar to Caroline, but this is her house and she can kind of do whatever
Yeah.
the hell she wants.
That's
Caroline is too comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Caroline picks up the frame to get a better look at the kids, but another photo falls out from behind it. Martin and Grace stand in front of a black couple who gaze coolly at the camera. Caroline looks at the back of the photo to find their names written in cursive. Papa Justify and Mama Cecile, played by Ronald McCall and Gerald Prescott.
Ronald McCall, he was in Fried Green Tomatoes in 91 and Honey Dripper in 07. Gerald Prescott, she was in 6 episodes of The Walking Dead.
Really?
Yes, from 2010 to 12. She was in Bolden in 19, 10 episodes of the Swamp Thing TV show in 2019. She was also in 7 episodes of Ahsoka from 2023 to 2026.
Hey.
Yeah.
I have to say, I, of course, returned to this film as we're covering it for the show, remembering the ending. This photo falling out of this photo, I did not remember.
I didn't either.
So that was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
It's so, that's why I'm like, and I know that, like I had said at the top, that critically it was not really appreciated. And I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion to like this. Like, I don't know. But I feel like there are little seeds like this that are planted throughout that when you rewatch it, you're like,
Yeah.
And things that seem innocuous in the moment or just kind of like, huh, that's weird. And you move past it. But this is one where it's like, now what? Now why is that back there? Caroline slides this photo back behind the one of the children standing alone. And when Violet tells her to come along, she follows. So this whole scene where Violet is kind of talking about the children and them getting the house from the children who inherited it from their parents, and us looking at this photo and then this photo falling out from behind. Kind of everything from leaving Ben's room to where we're stopping right now was not done during principal photography. They came back and did it after because they thought that they needed more explanation to the history of the house. So they came back and added this scene.
Okay.
I think it is very fluid with what comes before and after it.
Yeah.
Because the scene that we're about to get into right now was part of principal photography. So it was just this little piece that they were like, we think it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
And I think you need this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It all flows so well in a way that you would never guess that.
Yeah.
Not at all. After a lingering look at the photograph of the children, we join Caroline and Violet in the dining room. Violet reveals that they only use about half the rooms. The others are for Ben's antique business to store what he couldn't sell. But Violet amends this, except for the attic. She points upward, sharing that there is crystal and china up there, and she keeps a very close eye on that just so Caroline knows.
Hey, man.
I know.
You already hired me.
No.
Caroline doesn't respond, but she follows Violet into the next room. Here, Violet carefully opens a box and dips her hand inside. She says that the house has over 30 rooms in all. In the old days, there was a separate key for each room. As Caroline watches, Violet pulls out a key with an ornate head, and our focus shifts from Caroline to the key. Violet shares that for the owner, they made a skeleton key.
Mm-hmm.
Roll credits. This key was specifically designed for the film, and they went through a lot of different designs for it and ended up happy with this one, but they thought that it was too small, so they made it bigger because they said that the key has billing. It's a character of the film.
Honestly, yeah.
And it does look interesting.
For me, I'm quite surprised. I understand that Caroline's going to be working here and everything, but does she need a skeleton key?
It's funny because when I remembered this, even though we watched it not too long ago, I remembered it being a rule that you had to lock a door before going into the next room. That's totally the others.
Yes.
That is not this
Yeah,
movie.
that's not this one.
That's not this movie because I'm like, of course she needs a skeleton key. She's got to lock every fucking room she goes into.
Yeah.
But that's not this movie.
No.
That's
No,
something
no.
else. So yeah, and it is interesting that she gave it to her.
Yes.
I guess if you're living there, then maybe. But I mean, if you are here all the time, then I don't really need this.
Well, she only needs access to certain areas.
Yeah.
You know?
So then, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I don't
need to
know.
open every door.
Unless you have
You-
to lock it behind.
I was, but along those lines, it is unless you want me to.
Oh, okay.
Violet steps toward Caroline with a smirk, boasting that this key will open every door. She hands it over with the news that this one is Caroline's. Violet has her own. She starts to walk away, revealing a large empty space on the wall behind her. Caroline stays behind, looking up at this void in the wall when Violet stops to admit that they may have to ask her to go into town every now and then. Caroline doesn't acknowledge this. Instead, she asks, "Was there a mirror here once?" Violet nods that there was, and Caroline presses further that she noticed there aren't any mirrors in the bathroom either. Violet shakes her head. When you get as wrinkled and worn out as she and Ben are, you don't need reminding. Caroline offers a smile, and Violet concedes that if she wants to keep a small one for herself, that's fine with her. When Caroline questions what she did with the mirrors, Violet's answer is simple: put them away.
What do you want to steal them too? Like, god damn.
Do you keep those with the china as well?
What business is it of yours? I
know.
will admit the excuse is terrible,
It is.
but I mean, it's their house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they walk down the hall together, Violet says that the boy told her Caroline doesn't smoke, but she does smoke. She smokes a lot and she enjoys it very much. She presumes that that won't be a problem for Caroline, and Caroline confirms that it won't. Violet continues that for the most part, she's going to live like Caroline isn't here. They're not kin after all. She broaches, "Are your parents still alive?" Caroline shares that her mom left when she was little. Her dad raised her and he died last year. Violet wonders if Caroline cared for her father as well, and Caroline answers honestly that she would have. She just thought she had more time. Violet nods her understanding as she lights a long, dark cigarette and takes in a drag. Smoke circles her face as she advises that if you think too much about the time you have left, you don't spend it living. She implores Caroline to take care of her husband, take care of his house. As she departs, she reminds her, remedies at 9.
I just want to have a very nuanced conversation very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about smoking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But goddamn, does it look cool on screen and for atmosphere in a film.
Yeah. And for this character specifically.
Yes, it's necessary.
Yeah.
This whole interaction felt a little weird. Like everything leading up to this and everything that she's telling Caroline, it's like, are you chumming up to me or are you like, I don't know.
I can get that because there's part of it that's like, well, yeah, of course they're going to have a kind of discussion about the house.
Yeah.
But it's like there are things in what you're saying that I'm like, what?
Yeah.
A little kind of suspicious already.
Yeah.
On the count of 3, Caroline hoists Ben out of his chair and gently lowers him into the bathtub. Steam from the water rises up and Ben's features soften with satisfaction. There's stuff like this, just the look of relief on his face when he gets in the tub. It's just so he really does a great job in this role of Ben.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Caroline walks down the stairs as Ben is lowered down in the lift. She takes him outside to join Violet in the yard, where she muses that Caroline doesn't see gardens like this back in New Jersey. Caroline counters that it's actually the Garden State, and Violet scoffs that she doubts that very much. That's hilarious.
That is good.
Clutching potted flowers in each hand, she insists that there is nothing more glorious than a garden, gone every winter and back every spring. Yeah. When Caroline brings Ben to a stop, she locks the wheels of his chair and his expression is clouded with worry. Violet wonders if Caroline is religious at all. As she sits down next to Ben and opens her book, Caroline offers that she likes to keep an open mind. Leafing through her seed packets as a caterpillar crawls across the top of the box, Violet nods that that's good. That's very good. On the commentary, Softley had said that this garden was very important because they wanted to reiterate the themes of life and death throughout the film. That he had wanted things lively and moving, and this caterpillar crawling on the seed box was purposefully put there and staged to move.
Oh, wow.
And it's something so small, but it's like it is thriving, like this garden is alive.
Yeah. And a caterpillar is a funny thing to have there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Disappointed, she asks where her trilliums are before complaining. Oh, fiddlesticks. She asks if Caroline could do her a blessing and run up to the attic for her. There's some seed packets and a box right next to the stairs. We immediately cut to Caroline snatching up the skeleton key from the end table, and we watch through the keyhole as she approaches the door. She thrusts the key inside and crosses the threshold.
I thought the shot through the keyhole was pretty cool.
Yes. Beyond the door is dark, and the stairs creak beneath Caroline's every step as she climbs them, finally reaching the attic door above. She unlocks and opens it, and the door screams on its hinges. Caroline quickly finds the box with the seed packets that Violet described. She kneels down to look through it, but she's distracted when she hears movement on the other side of the attic. She looks up as the sounds turn into rhythmic thudding. Shadows move across the sunlight shining in through the window. Caroline goes to investigate, venturing further into the attic as the door squeals on its hinges behind her and begins to creep closed. She finds shelving against the opposite wall and spots the source of the sound. A metal can on the bottom shelf rattling and clanging as something pushes against it from behind. Caroline lowers herself and pulls the can out of the way. A tiny door is revealed, quaking with movement from the other side. As soon as Caroline sets her eyes on it, it stops moving. She grips the blue speckled doorknob and turns it, only to find it locked. So Caroline takes out her skeleton key and inserts it, twisting it. But the investigation comes to a screeching halt when the attic door slams shut, startling Caroline and bringing her to her feet. She abandons the tiny mystery door to let herself out of the attic, and as soon as she's gone, it begins to rattle again from the other side. Caroline hurries back to the garden with the box of seed packets in her arms, but she gets the shit scared out of her when Violet jumps into view, wondering what took her so long. Caroline lets out a long sigh, visibly startled as she offers an apology. Violet snatches the box and starts to head back outside, but she stops when Caroline makes an observation. I thought that key opened everything. Violet is like, the key? What key? Caroline reminds her, the key she gave her for the house. There's a door in the attic that it doesn't work on, which is wild.
Yeah. She's got a lot of moxie.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like you're talking a lot.
No, yeah.
Violet dismisses this. It's never worked on that door. She turns her attention to the box in her arms, but Caroline isn't finished. Why doesn't it open that door?
Caroline, do you like this job?
No, dude.
She asks what's in there. Again,
What?
We're very comfortable.
Yeah,
We're very
yeah.
comfortable.
It's been, 24 hours, I believe?
Yes. Yeah.
If that.
Yes.
Violet admits that she doesn't know. It's been shut ever since they moved in. She turns away from Caroline in a hurry to get the seeds in the ground because there's rain coming in. Caroline calls after her, though. She asks if it's true that Ben was in the attic when he had his stroke. Caroline turns to look at her, but she says nothing. So Caroline presses further. What was he doing in there? Violet replies that she'll have to ask Ben that. She adds, be a dear and go see to him, won't you? She wonders if Ben wouldn't like some iced tea. Caroline doesn't reply.
The mystery has begun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Officially.
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of like whenever the door was shaking in the attic.
Yeah.
Where it could kind of be perceived however you want to see it. It could just be a windy attic.
Yeah.
And it's just rattling the door.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be something far more supernatural.
Mhm.
Right.
And so again, it's playing into this idea of belief, even on a very small scale in this moment.
Yeah. I think when the door shut on me and then I turned around, I'd have been like, I don't want to know.
Now that door was supernatural.
Yeah.
The opposite
door.
Yeah, we would honestly, I don't know that I could continue.
Yeah, it's like maybe wait a week and then be like, look, I noticed there's a door up there that I can't open. I don't know what it is.
No, it was
Anything?
immediate.
Yeah. And there's something in the house that doesn't want me there.
Yeah.
That night, rain pours down just as Violet predicted. In her bathroom, Caroline takes off her top, a tiny tattoo peeking out from the band of her underwear. She uses a small compact mirror as she pins up her hair, and we watch Caroline through the mirror as she showers with her back to us, and a shadow falls over her. She peeks over her shoulder, but goes back to showering.
Curtain open, raw bar of soap. That was crazy.
She's new here.
What I will say is on the commentary, Softley was talking about kind of the way that we are watching Caroline, possibly from the point of view of someone or something else, and kind of the importance of seeing her body as a kind of a display of youth, maybe youth that we are yearning for.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, that, because I'm thinking it's early 2000s, of course, people are going to be naked, whatever. I'm just thinking of it in that context. But I'm like, oh, wow, that actually adds some like thematic reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then directly after that, we were panning up Kate Hudson's body as she's lying in bed. Directly after he says that, Softley's like, and this is just, look how quickly she got back into shape after that baby. I was like, oh, there
swear
it
to
is.
God.
There it is.
He's like, now this was for Softley.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's the 2005.
Yeah,
Got it. That night, as she sleeps in bed, lightning flashes through the windows and thunder rumbles outside. She's startled awake at the sound of thudding, and when she listens further, a loud metallic rattling follows. Caroline gets out of bed and hurries to the stairs, switching on the light before she begins the long climb to the second floor. A light is on, peeking under the crack in Violet's door, and Caroline notices this, but she continues instead to Ben's room. She thrusts the skeleton key into the lock and opens the door slowly, peeking her head into the dark room quietly so she doesn't disturb Ben. But she flips on the light switch, and we very dramatically press in on the bed as Caroline realizes that Ben isn't there. Caroline's brow furrows in confusion as she notices Ben's wheelchair sitting empty across the room. A record spins on the player, hissing static, and when the loud rattling continues behind Caroline, she leaves the room. She hurries across the hall to another room and opens the door, switches on the light, and finds an office filled with books. In another room, she turns on the light to reveal vintage toys, strobed by the streaks of lightning coming in through the window. We zoom in on Caroline as she realizes suddenly his door was locked. She sprints down the hall, calling out for Ben as she rushes back to his room. She runs into his bathroom before noticing that the floor beneath his bedroom window is wet. Caroline stomps through the water and opens the window to find Ben dragging himself across the roof in the pouring rain.
What the hell?
Yeah.
When she screams his name, he looks back at her. She begs him to stop right there and to not move. But Ben is on a mission. He turns back forward and continues to pull himself along. Showers of rain pour off the side of the roof as Ben inches his way forward. But he gets too close to the edge and he falls, reaching out for the trellis to catch himself, but crashing instead into the leaves below. John Hurt said that he wanted to take this fall himself, but they wouldn't let him.
Good.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But that's really him crawling along the roof. And this was really shot on the roof of the house.
Damn.
They did it at night at like 4 a.m. And they let him do that and get close to the edge, but they would not let him take the fall.
Whoa.
He's like, I wanted to. It's like, dude, get it back in the house.
Yeah.
Caroline screams for Ben as she rushes back into the house. She bangs on Violet's door, calling out for her before running out the back door to find Ben crawling in the mud. Caroline drops to the ground and tries to help him, but he fights her, grabbing her shoulders so hard that Caroline has to force his hand down into the mud. Violet joins them, pulling on her robe and asking in a frantic tone what happened. Caroline tells her that Ben got out of the window. She thought he was bedridden. Violet explains that Ben is having spasms.
It's one hell of a spasm.
Yeah.
Is she trying to say that that's what carried him out here?
Yes.
How?
He not only crawled out the window, he closed it behind himself so no one would know and then dragged himself across the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Violet.
Yeah.
Girl, come on. She asks if Caroline gave him his remedies. She says that she did. And when Violet asks if she made sure he drank them all down, she says that she thought so.
Mm-hmm.
Put that in your cap for later. Turning her attention to Ben, Violet asks, what did they make you do? Which is an odd question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah. With Violet next to him, Ben stops fighting and just stares. Caroline tries to point out that Ben's door was locked, but Violet just snaps at her to go get his wheelchair so they can get him out of the rain. Caroline asks, what about a doctor? But Violet dismisses that. They can do that in the morning. She needs to get the wheelchair now. Soaking wet, Caroline goes back upstairs, but as she grips the handles of the wheelchair, she notices a potted plant that has fallen and crashed to the floor in the midst of Ben's escape. Just beyond that, there is a crumpled white sheet with what appears to be a message scrawled on it. Caroline picks it up and unfurls it to find two terrifying words. Help me.
So is that an insurance policy? Like he knew he wasn't going to be able to get away? And so he's like, leave a message just in case?
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. She can only look at this for a moment before Violet screams her name from downstairs. She grabs the wheelchair, makes a pit stop in her own room to ditch the sheet in her wardrobe, and then brings the chair outside, all while Violet yells for her. Violet demands to know what took her so long, but Caroline lies that she came as fast as she could. Violet shakes her head, asserting that they're just going to have to double his remedies. That's all she can think of.
Shouldn't we talk to a doctor first?
Yeah.
Probably
No
should.
shit.
That's wild.
She tells Caroline to help her pick Ben up. She does, grabbing him beneath the arms and lifting him out of the mud. But Ben stares deep into her eyes, trying to wordlessly communicate something to her of desperate importance. Caroline stares back at him. The next day, Caroline's boots slosh through a puddle. Standing where Ben had been crawling the night before, she looks back toward the cars in the driveway, wondering, where did you think you were going? Caroline looks in the opposite direction and finds a boat at the edge of the bayou. Before she can follow this thought further, Luke speaks up behind her, quipping, "You're here 2 days and he already tried to kill himself." Scraping mud from his shoes with a stick, he adds that she must have some kind of bedside manner. Caroline grins that it's one of her many charms. Luke laughs before asking what exactly happened. He came to update their will, but Violet is up there with the doctor saying that Ben fell. Caroline confirms that he did fall as she sits on the edge of the porch. Luke presses, like what, from his wheelchair? To correct him, Caroline simply nods up to the second floor. Appalled, Luke asserts that she can't be serious. He fell from up there? He looks back toward her confused. He can't even walk.
I don't know about fell, more like he launched himself off of
Yeah.
there trying to get away.
True.
Yeah.
Well, it was just a spasm.
Yeah. no-
Everybody calm down. Caroline leads Luke into her bedroom where he pleads with her not to tell him she's quitting and he has to start all over again. So this is when I was confused. It may surprise a lot of people to know that I am not a lawyer. But is that something an estate lawyer would be doing? Is
I don't know.
hiring health care?
I very limited knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is to say none.
Right. Extremely limited.
Very, very limited. I would think that that would be up to the family to do.
Right.
And the estate lawyer just handles the estate matters.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking like maybe if they had a close personal relationship, but he was like, all I know is the check's clear. It's like there's a distance there where he is familiar with this couple, but he's like, so I have to start all over finding someone. Is it your job to do that?
Yeah. Right. Because if it was maybe like a family lawyer,
Uh-huh.
Right.
if they had like power of attorney or something, then I get you
Right.
making some judgment calls or something about some stuff. But if you're just here for the house, then what?
And isn't it implied that he hasn't been working with them that long? Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he said it yet, but he says I think like about a month. It was when Ben had his stroke, right after, right before.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to look at it in a way, as far as the way the narrative goes, maybe things are starting to not add up.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Is this an odd thing that's happening, or am I just ignorant and this is what estate lawyers do? I don't know, but to me it struck me that line of I got to start all over. What?
Yeah.
Caroline asks him to shut the door so she can show him something. She takes a green suitcase out of her wardrobe as Luke obliges, quipping that his mother used to say that if a lady invites you into her room, she probably isn't much of a lady. Caroline scoffs that homespun Southern wisdom grows on trees around here, doesn't it? She takes Ben's sheet out of her suitcase and unfurls it to show Luke, telling him that she found this in Ben's room last night. But the hopeful scrawled message, the plea for help, is gone. The sheet is pristine.
This is not fair.
No.
And I don't know the logistics of the real sheet disappearing. Right? Like how would anybody know where you would put it?
Right.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I would throw up, though. I would feel like I was losing it.
Right. Right. I think my thing is what happens next.
Okay.
Okay. Luke is like, you found what? His laundry? Confused, Caroline stammers, but instead of explaining herself, she folds up the sheet and puts it back into her suitcase. As Luke sits down on her bed, which I thought was insane. Again, well, everybody's too comfortable for me, for my taste. She tells him to forget it. She doesn't know what she thought.
How can you forget it? You read Help Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
You read it. And again, I feel like that would be, look, dude, I know it sounds crazy, but I seen it. I know I seen it. There's no way. I know it's not here. Anything. Even if, okay, call me crazy, but this is what I saw.
And even without the sheet, isn't it peculiar enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the events of what happened?
Yes. She returns to her wardrobe, and Luke suddenly confesses that he admires her and what she does. He reasons that he wouldn't even be able to take care of his own parents. Caroline cautions that he'd regret that. She quit college to help out with some friends' bands. She was out all night and always on the road. She settles into a chair, sharing that her father thought she was throwing her life away, so they didn't talk and they didn't visit. They left it stubborn and proud. She shrugs. Luke ventures, "You mean..." And Caroline says yes. He was gone before she'd even known he was sick. She guesses that he wanted to spare her from all this. Luke wonders, is that so wrong? But Caroline asserts that no one should have to die alone. In the following silence, Luke leans forward and invites her to tell him what she was going to say about Ben. Caroline crosses the room and sits on the bed next to Luke, her voice lowered when she asks him if he ever feels like Ben is trying to ask him for help. Luke is like, asking me? And Caroline clarifies, like with a look or a touch. From further in the house, Violet calls out for Mr. Marshall. Caroline turns to close her suitcase as Violet offers a quick knock on the door before inviting herself in. She starts to ask if Caroline has seen Mr. Marshall, but the sentence dies before it's finished when she finds Mr. Marshall sitting on the bed next to Caroline. Luke offers her a thin smile, but Violet isn't pleased. She comments coldly that she can see the children are getting acquainted. Luke stands and walks over to her, assuring Violet as he smooths his tie that she knows she's the only woman in his life. But Violet fires back that she knows no such things and to remove his perspirations. He had a hand on her shoulder, but he removes it and raises both of them in surrender. Violet says that the doctor has left, so she's ready to discuss estate matters if he's finished soliciting his new business. She tisks, eyeing Luke in disappointment before she leaves, shaking her head.
Very interesting. And says a lot once we understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is funny to me that they did not have to hire a doctor character.
Yeah.
Like no actor.
No, that's all right.
I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, I feel in most movies we would see that scene.
Yes.
Or the doctor would come and tell Caroline since she's the one taking care of it.
Yes.
Something. Yeah.
Luke's smile is gone when he turns back to Caroline. He pulls his business card out of his wallet and hands it to her, telling her, "Whenever you get the time." Later, when Violet is busy outside sweeping the walkway, we see the inner workings of the lock twisting open as Caroline uses her skeleton key on the door leading to the attic stairs. So they had really wanted to get these shots of the key going in and unlocking the lock. And so Softley had them build giant locks that they were inserting big keys into to kind of get the shot of it. But they were able to get their hands on a medical endoscopic camera that they put into a real lock and unlocked it with the real key and were able to get these shots.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Caroline rushes up the stairs only to open the proper attic door the same way. Inside, she jogs to the wall where she found that little door, using the beam of a flashlight to find her way. She kneels on the floor in front of it, pausing for a moment before taking a pin out of her hair and bending it. Caroline slides the pin into the keyhole and knocks something loose. She pulls it out and inspects it, a broken piece of a key that she compares with the skeleton key in her hand before looking back up at the mystery door. Caroline thrusts the key into the lock, and this time, when she twists, there is a satisfying clunk of the door unlocking. Caroline grips the handle and opens the door. An ominous wind blows out, bringing dust to her eyes. Caroline winces as she wipes at her face, but she's undeterred. She pushes the door open the rest of the way and goes inside this strange new room. It's cluttered inside with what appears to be jars of preserves and organic matter, cobwebbed dolls, and oddities. Caroline scans her light over a monkey's skull, its mouth eternally opened. She is startled when she comes face to face with a straw doll, its eyes and mouth sewed shut with thick black thread, and its blonde hair pale and lank.
As far as the production design and set decoration is concerned, this firstly is a set, this room.
Okay.
And again, when it comes to watching the progression from her in the hall to the attic into this room, it all feels fluid and you don't lose any of it.
Yeah.
But Beard, the production designer, worked with a woman called Beauchamp Fontaine, which is a fantastic name.
Yes, it is. Oh my God.
But she was the set decorator, and she apparently had a very keen eye when it came to using and utilizing hoodoo artifacts and paraphernalia in this set specifically.
Okay.
And so they did want to give her a mention for that. And I think that this is one of the most interesting sets in the entire film.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's well worth the mystery and the build up to actually getting into this room.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had said on commentary as well that the items in this room were real items that they had gotten from hoodoo practitioners.
Wow.
Okay.
And that the set dressers had put salt around the room for protection when they were setting this up.
Oh, shit.
Caroline finds a large book with a red cover sitting on a desk. At the sound of ghostly sighs, Caroline opens it. The first picture features Martin and Grace Thorpe standing with their family and with Papa Justify and Mama Cecile standing to the side. When she flips the page, it's the same picture she saw before of just the four of them posed together in front of the house.
So I do understand what you were saying earlier about the addition of a scene.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like rediscovering.
Right.
And it is interesting that these antique photographs, they do have copies of them. So I get what you're saying.
She turns the page and finds a wedding photo of Justify and Cecile staring forward expressionlessly, wearing a black suit and a white dress, respectively. On the page next to them are the written words, Receipt Book of Papa Justify and Blessed Teachings. Caroline turns another thick page and finds a spell calling at the top for chalk, sulfur, blood, and hair. She scans down the page that depicts a drawing of a circle with occult symbols, teaching where to place each of the items. The words at the bottom of the page explain, Conjuration of Supreme Protection. Caroline stares at this, confused and intrigued, but something else catches her eye. As Violet calls her name from afar, Caroline picks it up. A gold ring. When she turns it to catch the beam of her flashlight, there are 3 golden snakes raised from the band, each with a ruby glinting for their eye.
Very memorable and beautiful ring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outside, Violet is calling out that she's making some sweet tea. Is Caroline interested?
She's like, you better not be in that attic.
Yeah.
She steps up to the back door and calls for Caroline, but receives no answer. This is because Caroline is still investigating the attic room. She's rifling through a box of records. When she pulls one out, it's concealed within a paper sleeve, and in the corner, there's a drawing of another circular spell with black drawn candles lit on either side of it. Caroline turns it over to find writing on the other side. Papa Justifies Conjure of Sacrifice, August 24th, 1920, New Iberia Parish. Caroline furrows her brow, questioning, sacrifice? Downstairs, Violet has entered the house. She calls out again, asking if Caroline is home, but we swirl around her as her eyes fall upon the door leading to the attic stairs. In the attic, Caroline picks up a jar containing a cow's tongue. Meanwhile, Violet brings her own skeleton key to the attic door, but there's no need. It's already open. Caroline is startled at the sound of the squeaking door and she drops the jar. The glass shatters and the tongue inside is freed. Caroline grimaces in disgust. Violet starts toward the attic stairs, her face cold and suspicious. Hearing her approach, Caroline hurries out of the mystery room with the record still under her arm. She crawls through the tiny door and closes it back up. Jogging, she heads toward the attic door, but when she sees Violet's approaching shadow, she runs back the other way, accidentally dropping the record on the ground where it plops with a plume of dust.
Fucking Butterfingers over here.
I know. And we all heard that.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Absolutely.
She turns back with her flashlight to see it on the ground, but just then, Violet lets herself into the attic. She stands there in the dark space and calls out for Caroline. We pan back to find Caroline, hiding on the other side of shelves, clutching the record against her chest. When she doesn't answer, Violet mutters, "You're forgetful, child." She leaves the attic and locks the door behind her.
That might also be where you're thinking that she has to lock every door.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because we are lucky.
Yes. Just this once. So does she, I mean, she is putting on like a facade maybe, because there's no way that you could think that Caroline was anywhere else but in here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alone in the attic again, Caroline stands and reveals that she's in front of a mirror. She turns to find another, covered with a sheet that slides off. Caroline finds her own reflection in black and white for a moment. She reveals another covered mirror and rips the sheet away. Another sheet is pulled to reveal more and more mirrors. Caroline looks at these suspiciously before bringing her eye to the keyhole of the mystery room, where we see it in a close-up. In this close-up shot of her eye, this was done using that giant keyhole that they had built.
Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But later, she sneaks out of the attic and out of the Devereaux house. We find her later walking down the street in the city, and inside an apartment, she puts the stolen vinyl on a record player and lowers the needle. Papa Justify's voice emanates nearly immediately. "It is time, Lord, from the dry dust, out of these chains, from the devil's house. It is time, Lord, to take me from the dry dust, break me from those chains. Bring me from the devil's house, take me out of darkness, walk me out of blindness, lift me out of sadness, save me from my damnedness." As Papa Justify begs the Lord, we spin around Caroline, who is visibly disturbed. Papa Justify repeats himself, and the record seems to spin faster and faster, spinning with the room around Caroline until finally Jill walks up behind her. Her face is etched with fear and discomfort, and as soon as Caroline senses her friend in the room, she stops the record, lying that it's just a local band. Jill nods, her face disbelieving.
They're called the Lords of Salem.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Caroline sighs and offers, "How about you buy me a drink?"
So they really went to great effort to put together this record of Papa Justify's.
Mm-hmm.
They had said that what they did was they brought in the Ebenezer Church Choir as the vocalizations over the music that's playing.
Yeah.
And for the music that's playing, they brought in musicians from New Orleans. Alfred Roberts, Bruce Sunpie Barnes, and Elyard Burt, and they all provided percussion through instruments befitting of the era that this record is coming from.
Okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they brought in real hoodoo practitioners who, during the recording, lit candles and incanted spells. And so the director said that it felt less like a recording and more like a ritual.
Okay.
But this is, I mean, it sounds incredible, and so of the time that it's supposed to come from.
Yeah.
I was very impressed by this record.
Yeah. Everybody's okay though, right? They didn't like.
I believe so.
Right.
We can hope so. Later at the club, as they sip their drinks, Caroline confides that whatever it is, it's not a normal attic. She was told that it's been locked up ever since the Devereaux first moved in. but Jill knows exactly what it is. As she walks past the people dancing on the floor, she educates Caroline. You found yourself a hoodoo room.
I do want to say they pass a person that's performing the song that they're listening to right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a member of the group 3rd Infantry, and they wrote and recorded this song for the film.
Oh,
That's
okay.
cool.
So I don't know if that's the reason why we're here,
Okay.
because I know JP and I at least are in agreement
Right.
that this is not the venue for this conversation.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I was a little shocked, and not in a good way, that this is where we ended up. Because if I catch my roommate, my friend, whatever, listening to something like this, it's like, dude, what the fuck did you find?
Yes.
What is this? It needs to be quiet. It needs to it's something where we're like, we can talk and we can hear each other.
Mm-hmm.
The speakers are right next to us. Like, I can't hear a fucking word you're saying.
No, we need undivided attention.
Yeah.
And we had even talked about this being New Orleans.
Yes.
How many places could you showcase
Yeah.
instead of just going back to the club again?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We could see some more food, shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Why not a restaurant?
Yeah.
It was an odd choice. When Caroline is confused, Jill asks if she knows what hoodoo is. Caroline assumes that it's like voodoo, right? But Jill tells her she's wrong. Voodoo is a religion that slaves brought from Africa. They worship God and they believe in heaven and hell. Caroline asks how hoodoo is different, and Jill explains it simply. It's magic. It's American folk magic that doesn't have much to do with God. Caroline sips her drink, repeating, magic. Jill confirms this and says that it's part African, part European, and part Native American, and it started here in New Orleans. She shares that her aunt is into it. She shops at a place in Algiers. She reminds Caroline that she said the house had history, but she assures her that hoodoo is pretty harmless. Like a lot of that stuff, it's all psychological. It can't hurt you if you don't believe. Caroline broaches, so this place your aunt shops at, have you ever seen it? Cut to Jill and Caroline walking down the dark street. Muttering to herself, Jill decides that it's either this street or the next one or the next one. When she spots the Quality Wash and Dry laundromat, Jill is positive it's there. Caroline grins that that's a laundromat, but Jill tells her that that's all she knows. This is where her aunt goes. They stand in the street, silhouetted against the blue light of the laundromat. After a moment, Caroline starts forward, but Jill doesn't. Caroline asks her if she's coming or what, but Jill says she's not. Caroline thought she didn't believe in this stuff, and Jill agrees that she doesn't, but that doesn't mean she's going to go messing with it. She invites Caroline to go on ahead if she wants to. Caroline smirks as she realizes what's going on. Jill's scared. Jill, the thrill, is scared.
Are we really doing this?
She doesn't want to go alone. Jill rolls her eyes and tells Caroline to kiss her ass. Caroline teases that Jill is never going to live this down. They came all the way out here but Jill interrupts. I'm not scared. She sighs, looking across the street at the laundromat, where people are coming in and out and washing their clothes, visible through the big windows. So I did see a deleted scene that begins right here.
Mm-hmm.
They are standing outside the laundromat and they hear music. So they follow the sound of the music to a real church in the Algiers district where there are people inside playing music, worshiping, and practicing rituals. Caroline, of course, walks right in and Jill stays at the door. But the Bayou woman is in there worshiping. She takes a mouthful of liquid from a ceremonial cup, turns and spits it into Caroline's face. Caroline is freaked out, obviously. She flees the church, and afterward, she and Jill are in a cab, and Jill tells Caroline to just leave the attic alone and stop.
Why are we cutting this scene?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Plus, I think that we, maybe watching it younger, I remembered the Bayou woman so much visually, we barely see her.
Oh,
in this.
yeah.
So maybe it would have been cool to have another scene with her and it kind of mean more when and if we see her later or whatever. But yeah, it was completely cut.
Huh.
I honestly think that it could have been helpful to have that scene, not only for that reason, but because the abrupt cut to the next scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, so did they go inside the laundromat or no?
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because later that night, Caroline just returns home.
All right.
She lets herself into Ben's bedroom where he lies on his back, sleeping in bed. Caroline tucks Ben beneath his covers and switches off the bedside lamp. But she pauses, noticing again the large clean space in the weathered wallpaper where an oval mirror used to hang. She runs her hand along the spot. Caroline leaves Ben's bedroom and starts down the hall, but she pauses when Violet calls out from behind her own closed door. "Good night, Caroline." Caroline offers a quiet "good night" before slinking further down the hall instead of going downstairs to her own room. She even takes off her shoes to move along, undetected by Violet.
She already heard you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. In the morning, though, the wind blows through the trees outside, and in the house, Violet picks up a vase of withered flowers from a table before unlocking a door and letting herself into a room. Our view is of her feet as she stops in her tracks and drops the vase, which shatters against the floor. We press in on Violet's vacant face before seeing what she does. On the wall next to Ben's bed, the mirror has been put back up. Caroline?
Yeah.
Caroline. Girl. Caroline is asleep in her bed when Violet comes banging on her door. She wakes with a start and crosses the room to open it. As she does, Violet reminds her angrily that she told her about the mirrors. She tells Caroline that this is not her house. Caroline gives the excuse that she found them and she needed a mirror for her bathroom, but Violet interrupts. "I told you and you heard me. No mirrors." She stomps away, repeating herself.
In Caroline's defense, Violet told her in a very folksy way.
Yeah.
And never
She did.
said no.
Yeah, that was, I caught that too. I was like, well, technically you didn't say no. You just said that you didn't like to be reminded that you were old.
Yeah.
So you took them down.
That's it.
Yeah.
When Violet returns the mirrors to the attic, Caroline enters and stands in the doorway with a confession. "I've seen the room."
I oscillate from appreciating her moxie to being like, you're too much, dude.
You're doing the most. When Violet asks for clarification, Caroline says that she's seen the room Violet says she's never seen. Pointing at it, she tells Violet that it's not locked anymore. But Violet raises both hands to keep Caroline from walking any further. She calls her child, telling her that she doesn't know what she's seen. So Caroline declares that Violet is going to tell her right now, or she's leaving. In the garden, Ben sits in his chair while Caroline and Violet stand by lawn chairs next to the bayou. Violet lights one of her cigarettes and takes a long drag before deciding that Caroline isn't from the South, so she won't understand. She points up to the attic, asserting that you don't just throw things out of a room like that. You leave them just where you found them, because the house is theirs just as much as it is ours. Caroline asks, "The house is whose?" She wants to know whose things were up in that room. Violet finally concedes and settles down into one of the lawn chairs to tell the story. She says that about 90 years ago, there was a banker here named Thorpe who made his fortune cheating the poor. She says that Thorpe was mean and cruel, and he lived here with his family and a couple servants named Mama Cecile and Papa Justify. This is when you sit forward in your chair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She invites Caroline to sit in the other chair, and she does. She continues her story, sharing that Thorpe did not know that Papa Justify was a two-headed doctor. He was a conjure man, and Cecile was too. They believed in, but Caroline interrupts smugly. Hoodoo. Instead of commenting, Violet points up to the attic and reveals that that was their room. We press in on the attic window before getting a glimpse into the past. We see Papa Justify in stuttering black and white, standing in the vast front hall of the house as Violet shares that Justify and Cecile were famous all through the bayous. Justify disappears and Cecile takes his place. Violet continues that they healed the sick and they hurt the mean. Papa Justify and Mama Cecile appear before us, staring at us coolly and knowingly in their cultural garb instead of the starched uniforms given to them by the Thorpes. Sitting in her chair in front of Caroline now, Violet quotes who she calls the Coloreds. I was like, God damn it, dude.
I know.
Yeah,
We were
no.
doing all right. Hit a straight lick with a crooked stick. But Thorpe only saw the two of them as the help. Lowering her voice, Violet reveals that Thorpe worked them to the bone. He abused them. Until one night, as the story goes, there was a party. In another flashback, we are attendees at the Thorpes' party, where the servants are lined up to cater to the guests, dressed in their clean white uniforms. Cars pull up to the lively plantation house as fireworks burst in the air. Violet says that it was the bank's anniversary and all the big shots were there. Politicians, sugar barons, riverboat tycoons. She says that there was a lot of drinking and dancing and a lot of trysts, she's sure. We see this, people moving together, dancing, clinking their glasses in celebration, a man grabbing a woman's ass as they dance.
Part of me was expecting to see Derwent and Rover the Dog Man.
Not Rover the Dog.
They said trysts and,
Yeah.
Basically.
and treats, maybe.
Papa Justify and Mama Cecile lock eyes across the party, and although the room is filled with mirth, they are not smiling. Violet says that when the evening was drawing to a close, some of the guests wanted to say goodbye to the children, but they couldn't find them. No one had seen them for hours. She says that being full of brandy, they all made it a game to find the children. We watch the partygoers giggling and stumbling through the halls, looking for the kids, but the game loses its charm and everyone begins to look worried. When someone hears music coming from the stairs, they follow the sounds of music, the voices, the shouting, and in the attic, they find Martin and Grace sitting in the middle of a circle of clustered, lit white candles. A record player sits next to them with a very familiar looking sleeve next to it. Justify and Cecile stand to the side, spasming with their eyes rolled back to whites. Martin and Grace look up with wide blinking eyes, and Violet reveals that they had the children in the attic. They were trying to teach them how to conjure hoodoo. We see chalk drawings on the floor next to the children, and the mirror on the wall shatters. Robertson Thorpe, played by Thomas Uscali, stares down in horror at them through the flames of the candles. Violet says that Thorpe and the rest of the guests just about went insane. They wondered how long this blasphemy had been going on. The men grab onto Papa Justify, knocking loose his ruby snake ring and causing it to clatter to the attic floor. The children are whisked away by the women and their mother, Madeline Thorpe, played by Jen Apgar. Violet says that the children took the blame. They had wanted to learn, but the adults weren't having any of that. Drum beats begin as Justify and Cecile are forced out onto the front lawn where thick, heavy rope is draped over a tree branch. Their screams and wails echo muffled as the nooses are forced over Justify and Cecile's heads to the delight of the crowd. They drink and cheer, dance. They throw drinks on the couple as Papa Justify and Mama Cecile are lynched in the yard. Violet continues, her voice gruff and grievous. All that power and rage and insanity. A woman spits a mouthful of liquor onto Mama Cecile's dangling feet, and the couple is set on fire by the men's torches. Martin and Grace watch from an upstairs window, the flames reflected against their faces. Their breath catches as they stare, their faces slack with shock, and Violet declares that the party was over.
This is incredibly difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah.
The imagery and images and the way it unfolds and the way that it is so painfully a part of our history, but
Yes.
also more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to just speak very quickly about the way that it was shot, because I feel like it was very interesting and very intentional.
Okay.
But the cinematographer was a guy called Dan Mindell, and he had actually gotten the job for the Skeleton Key through the cinematographer that Softley worked with on K-Pax.
Okay.
But this section they had talked about a lot together, and they had said that they had wanted to shoot it almost like a documentary. And they said they wanted to anchor it this way in reality because it was reality.
Yeah.
And they had said that the hand-cranked camera that they had used, they sped it up and used an electric drill to operate it.
God damn.
So that you can kind of give this whirring and this strange feeling as you're watching it, because it does feel, as you're watching it, very kind of surreal in a way.
Yeah.
The way that it's overexposed and double exposed. But one thing that they really intended on was not just shooting it in black and white. They shot it partially in black and white, but a lot in color.
Okay.
And that, to me, also is very intentional, as far as, because I think we talked about it on Sinners,
Right.
where we talked about photographs from the 1960s being put in black and white,
Yeah.
which is not exactly accurate and kind of creates
A false, distance in time.
Yes. And so when you do that, it kind of lends itself to understanding the fact that it is not so far away.
Right.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I definitely wanted to kind of underline that it felt like a statement.
Yeah.
Because when she starts telling the story and we first flash back, it is in black and white. And then it transitions into color in a way where it's like, look, we're talking about the history of this house, but this is recent history and recent American history. And it is, like you said, T, very hard to watch. It kind of upset my stomach rewatching it and having to script it, because these characters are fictional, but this is not fictional.
Right.
But Softley had said that they had to cut this scene back a lot to maintain its PG-13 rating, and that it was difficult to decide what to lose, because Softley said that he and the crew felt a responsibility to correctly address the tragic history of the plantation and to honestly juxtapose this specific horrific crime with the horrific crimes that formed the basis of this country.
Okay.
They also, and this is not as heavy as everything else that we've just said, but the house behind them is a fake front that looked newer, because the house that we see the whole movie is worn and old.
Right.
Okay.
And so I didn't even clock that, because you're so swept up and horrified by what's happening in front of you.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really interesting attention to detail, because this is 1920.
Yeah.
This could be the facade that they had built. Like I talked
maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, standing under the branch that may have once held Papa Justify and Mama Cecile, Violet tells Caroline that it was a terrible thing. Terrible. They're standing now, looking up at the tree, and Caroline lets out a sigh. Violet continues that rumors got out about it, but there were no arrests or trials. I'm really sick of hearing that phrase lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking a drag from her cigarette, Violet surmises that money had its way. Caroline wonders what happened to the Thorpes. Violet says that the bank went under. Thorpe shot his wife to death and then turned the gun on himself. But people in the bayou say that it was Justify and Cecile's revenge. She says that the children stayed here until 1962, but they never, ever told her and Ben why that room was locked, or why there were no mirrors in the whole house. She nods. Now we know. Caroline doesn't understand. Know what? Violet says simply, you see them in the mirrors. Caroline asks, who? Violet spells it out. The servants. She went and read hoodoo books, and they say that brick dust keeps harm away. So she made a big circle around the whole house. Caroline interrupts. Violet can't expect her to believe that she sees ghosts in her mirrors. But Violet just nods that the ghosts are here now, and whatever they did to him, she's not going to let them do it to her. Caroline sighs, lost for words, and Violet accepts that now Caroline is going to leave, like all the rest of them. So this is a turning point in the film.
Very much. So is she saying that this is completely supernatural?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But why would Caroline be like, you can't expect me to believe that? It's like, yeah, but you went up there, seen that, you took the record, you went and did your own research, you went to that place to find where it was. You kind of...
The pieces are fitting.
Yeah. And it is odd that she says that. You're right. Because it isn't as if like she has found nothing and that it's still, or honestly that she's even really presented herself as a skeptic. I think that might have been kind of a better thing for her character to kind of have that established.
She does later, but yeah, maybe a conversation before. Maybe I think the perfect opportunity was when she was with Jill.
Yeah.
What, at the club?
No.
Outside the laundromat. Not at the club. That evening, Caroline is coming back toward the house with a laundry basket full of freshly dried sheets, but she takes a quiet detour to the garden shed. Among the shelves of bottles and tools, she finds a trough filled with crushed red brick dust. She takes some between her fingers and rubs them together thoughtfully.
It's really funny because we close up on her face instead of the brick dust.
Well,
I thought we were.
Like that's more important.
You need to see her reaction.
I guess. Well,
an undisclosed amount of time later, as the fan in the covered patio blows and ruffles the delicate tablecloth on the table below it, Caroline is bathing Ben in the bathtub, remarking that he's got some superstitious wife there. Ben stares quietly as Caroline reiterates that Violet thinks they've got ghosts in the attic. The bar of soap slips from her grip, disappearing beneath the surface of the water with a splash that sends soapy bubbles up into Caroline's eye. She sucks in air and tells Ben to hold on. She fumbles around blindly in her makeup bag on the shelf behind him until she retrieves her small, compact mirror. Caroline takes a step away and checks her eye in the little mirror, but Ben's eyes follow her as she goes. Looking at her own reflection, something strikes her. She remembers. She said you can see them in the mirrors. Ghosts in the mirrors. Ben stares helplessly from the tub when Caroline gets an idea. She closes the mirror and sets it precariously on the edge of the tub. Caroline picks up the towel and continues bathing Ben, but his eyes are glued to the golden case of the mirror. Caroline follows his gaze and slowly drags the compact along the rim of the tub, bringing it closer and closer to Ben until finally opening it and showing him the mirror inside.
Okay, so she did not have to be so suspenseful with that mirror.
No.
I was a little suspenseful saying that word with the stutter, but you know. And also, how kind of cruel is it?
Yeah.
To test it.
That's my thing. I was like, man, that you kind of suck, dude. What is going on? What are you doing? And again, I know I just said something, but the way she's like, you got one superstitious wife, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, then why do you went through all this bullshit to learn something or whatever. If you really feel that way, then why are you doing that?
I also feel like the second I get Ben alone, I'm talking about that sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about him jumping on.
Oh, yeah.
What do you need? What's wrong?
Yes.
Blink.
Yes.
Is she hurting you? Do you need me to call somebody? Anything.
That is so fair.
Yes.
I didn't even.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Because
I feel like she was like, damn, this sheet's clean as hell. All right.
Maybe I did see things.
She just moves on. The previously silent and still Ben has a violent reaction, a scream trapped deep in his throat coming out as a choked growl. He flails his arms, knocking the compact out of Caroline's hand and sending it clattering to the floor. Water splashes as Ben thrashes, gasping as his body spasms. Caroline hurries to close the door to conceal what's happening. She rushes to Ben and places reassuring hands on him. Only then, and at her gentle urging to stop, does Ben finally calm down. She shushes him and implores him to relax. Ben finally catches his breath, and panting, he looks at the mirror, still on the bathroom floor. Caroline genuinely apologizes, and looking down at the mirror herself, she realizes the reason for his reaction. You see them too. Violet is hanging sheets on the line outside when Caroline exits the house. She tells Violet curtly that she's going shopping in town. Violet wonders what for, but Caroline ignores her. She gets behind the wheel of the car and starts it. Violet calls out to her again, Caroline, what for? But Caroline's answer is only for herself in the quiet of her car as she backs away from the house. We'll just have to see. Violet watches her go, taking a drag from her cigarette as thunder begins to rumble in the sky. It's raining when Caroline parks her car in town, and she needs the shelter of her umbrella when she steps out. She looks across the street to a familiar building, the Quality Wash and Dry Laundromat. Caroline goes inside. People are doing their laundry at the small row of washers and dryers, and steam rises into the air. But Caroline's attention is drawn to a beaded curtain on the opposite wall when a man comes through, clutching a box. Caroline watches him, but he doesn't say anything to her when he passes. The dryers thud as they continue their cycles, and the beads clatter as Caroline pushes through them and invites herself into the back area. In the small apartment beyond the beads, a boy sits on the steps doing his homework under the watchful eye of an older woman sitting on the couch. Caroline hesitates at the line of brick dust in the doorway behind him before stepping over it and crossing the threshold. In hushed tones, two women talk, one telling the other that she was beaten again last night. The other woman advises her to use that potion, and she promises that when she does, it won't ever happen again. Caroline walks into the room, passing the shelves of candles and bottles. Finally, she sees the women talking. Mama Cynthia, played by Maxine Barnett, places a box on the counter in front of a frail customer, played by Lucretia Kindred. And Maxine Barnett is another local actor that they were able to cast in the film.
That's great.
She tells the customer not to be afraid and to just use the potion she mixed up. She shares that she put a lot of things in there. She just needs to use it like she told her and she'll be fine. The customer nods that she will. She trusts Mama Cynthia. She takes the box and walks away, shooting a glance at Caroline before putting on her sunglasses to conceal her black eye. Mama Cynthia looks after her as she goes, but once the customer is gone, Caroline asks a question. She wants to know how the brick dust at the door works. Mama Cynthia explains patiently that if you put a line down, no one that means you harm can cross it. Her voice low and gold glinting off her teeth, she adds that that's how you can tell who your enemies are.
Patiently is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Because Caroline just kind of barges in here.
She does.
Yeah.
Doesn't introduce herself at all and just starts asking questions. Overhears this woman's business.
Yes.
Like, I'm just kind of flabbergasted at her behavior, frankly.
No.
Yeah. No, yeah.
This is very, very true. Caroline steps forward, asking if it's like hypnotism. Like when the stuff works, it's because someone believes it works. For instance, if you thought magic had made you sick, you might believe in a magic cure, even though it's all in your head. Narrowing her eyes, Mama Cynthia comments that somebody's been working roots on Caroline. Caroline presents a hypothetical. If she knew someone who believed he'd been... When she pauses, Mama Cynthia supplies the word for her. Crossed? Caroline accepts it. Could he believe that he could be uncrossed? Mama Cynthia asks the nature of the man's condition, and Caroline tells her honestly that he can't speak. He barely moves. He did have a stroke, but he seems to think that someone else made him that way. Mama Cynthia presumes that Caroline wants to know what happened to him, and Caroline agrees. Without another word, Mama Cynthia begins humming to herself as she picks up a cigar box. She comes out from behind the counter into her shelves, following her instincts and her knowledge to pluck items from the shelves and put them into the box.
I love this scene.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that she said the same thing 3 times when she came into the store and she was like browsing around waiting.
Oh, and she was like, just use the potion like that. She does.
And I
To
did
be clear.
Yes.
I did want the writing to be a little bit better in this section because she literally does, as you said, I have a lot of things in here. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what? I would,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love
What
to
is it?
know.
Yeah.
As a writer, that's a placeholder line
Yeah.
that you go back and flesh out. We didn't go back and flesh it out.
No.
We cut to Jill sitting across from Caroline in her apartment and questioning her, shocked. You actually went in? She asks if Caroline is out of her mind. Caroline stands up and paces, asking if Jill hasn't heard of psychosomatic treatment. Jill says that she has, but picking up a black feathered fan placed in one of the open books, she asserts that this is not that. Caroline offers a new perspective. How much of a patient's recovery relies on him believing that he can? But Jill doesn't understand what recovery Caroline is talking about. She reminds her friend that this is hospice. She's supposed to be helping Ben die. Caroline says that Ben believes in this stuff, but Jill doesn't understand. She asks, so what? Who is he to her? This takes the wind out of Caroline's sails. She lowers her head and begins to gather the items Mama Cynthia cultivated for her. Returning them to the cigar box, she whispers, forget it. But Jill tells her to forget it instead. Ben isn't her dad. Neither was the last one or the one before that. Why does she always get so attached?
That was a little rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. I think we're trying to give tough love, but it is more tough than love.
Yeah.
This is yeah, it's harsh.
It is. And that is her job, is to care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I get the whole, hospice, we are supposed to make you comfortable, but I mean, you should give a shit. But
Yeah.
she's going through very big lengths to figure out what's going on. And I mean, are you qualified for that?
That's a good question, too.
Right. Caroline stands silently and Jill offers an apology. Gathering her things and picking up her bag, Caroline reiterates that if she's not attached to him, she's abandoning him. Attached is better. Jill says that she knows that and she's sorry. Caroline grabs the last item, the black feathered fan. Jill implores her to look at herself. She wants to be a nurse and look where she just walked out of. But Caroline shakes her head and protests simply that it's not for her. That night, it's storming again outside of the house. Violet has fallen asleep in front of the TV when Caroline quietly sneaks into the kitchen and takes a large glass bowl from the cabinet. She tiptoes past Violet to go into Ben's room, locking the door behind her. Blues plays on the record player as she fills the bowl with water from the sink in his bathroom. She brings the bowl to Ben's bedside with the white candle in the shape of a cross inside. She sets down the box that Mama Cynthia gave her on Ben's tray next to the bowl. She tells him that this is going to be their secret, just the two of them. Lightning flashes through the windows as Caroline begins to open the bags of herbs from Mama Cynthia's and shake their contents into the water. She tells Ben that Violet says he didn't have a stroke in the attic, that instead, some ghosts made him this way with a spell. She asks if that's what he thinks. Of course, Ben can't answer, but he's watching Caroline prepare her concoction as she shares that she knows a spell too, one that can make him better. She pours anointed oil over the arms of the candle, and she sighs, telling Ben that all he has to do is believe it. Caroline strikes a match and lights the candle before consulting a piece of paper. So the crew got all these supplies and this spell and ritual from their hoodoo consultant.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was really cool. This isn't something that they just made up.
Yeah.
Caroline takes the feathered fan and drags it across the air in front of Ben from his head to his feet, rattling the paper. She repeats this, and Ben closes his eyes, seeming to bask in the resulting air. Caroline picks up the bowl, the candle burning inside, and she reminds herself in a whisper, backwards. Backing away from Ben, she dips her fingers into the herby water and throws it in handfuls onto the floor in the corners of Ben's bed. She intones, cleanse this man, cleanse this room, cleanse this house. Ben watches her, a tear escaping from his eye. Caroline returns to the bedside, sinking both hands into the bowl as she continues her spell. His words have gotten lost and wandering in his mind. Let the water run down and wash away this condition. She gently presses her wet hands to either side of his head, and Ben closes his eyes at the contact. Caroline sinks her hands into the bowl again, and they are slick and covered in herbs when she takes them out. She continues. His tongue has gotten tied and tangled in his throat. Let the water run down and wash away this affliction. Ben closes his eyes again when she presses her hands against his hair and forehead. Caroline turns to consult the spell, and Ben's rigid arms begin to relax and lower. Caroline speaks, touching Ben's face again. Send his voice to go free. Let the water run down and wash away. But she's startled by a boom of thunder. She snatches her hands away from Ben and turns around with a gasp. She looks back at Ben, though, when he tries to speak. She stares at him when he chokes out her name. Caroline. Caroline's breath catches as she stares at Ben, but downstairs we press in on Violet, the glow of the TV flickering against her sleeping face when her eyes suddenly snap open.
I gotta be honest. Did not care for that. It felt like she's a horror villain.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like it's like you see through Jason's hockey mask or something.
Ben chokes out Caroline's name again, his tongue lolling, his voice strained and rusty with disuse. John Hurt is wearing stained prosthetic teeth for this, and they said that you barely see his teeth in this because he doesn't speak, but he's wearing the teeth in every scene that he's in.
Okay.
The reality is Caroline sees it, strikes her. She tells Ben with realization, it's all in your head. Ben is still seizing his opportunity to communicate. He forces out the word, help, in a harsh whisper, and he begs her, help me. Caroline pleads with him to keep talking. How can she help him? His features drawn in pain, Ben tells her, get me out of here. Violet tries to open the door, and when she finds it locked, she pounds on it, yelling Caroline's name. Thunder booms, and Caroline turns from the door back to Ben, just in time for him to scream, get me out of here. Caroline tries to shush him, but with a kick from Ben's leg, the bed tray goes flying, spilling her items for Mama Cynthia across the floor. Violet demands that this door be opened, but as Caroline scoops the items back into the cigar box, she's like, just a minute.
Yeah. Not in this fucking house, dude. You can't do that.
Violet asks what she's doing to Ben as Caroline returns to his bedside, asking, why does he need to get out of here? Ben looks at her fearful, but he doesn't answer. Violet keeps yelling for Caroline, who absently replies for her to wait a second. Her attention is on Ben. Her questions are rapid fire. Why does he need to get out of here? What really happened to him in the attic? Who is he afraid of? Ben raises a trembling finger to point at the door just as Violet unlocks it and steps through.
What does it matter now, though? Violet's at the door. I'm pretty sure you didn't finish the spell, and then you spilled everything everywhere.
Yeah,
also,
that's kind of true. That's kind of true.
And you're only making it worse right now.
Yeah.
Because literally, if that's his only answer is that I'm afraid of Violet, I'm pretty sure we gathered that already.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And you,
I know.
Yes. And you've probably just made it a lot worse.
Yes.
Honestly. Appalled, Violet asks what Caroline has done. What is this? Caroline stammers that Ben was struggling again in his sleep. And when Violet tells her to get away from him, she steps aside. Violet checks on Ben, who lies in the bed once again silent, gripping at his own neck. She turns to face Caroline, accusing, "You were talking to him?" Caroline picks up the dropped bowl, excusing that she brought him water and that she was just telling him a story to settle him down. Ben cranes his head to look at her. Violet asks what the story was about, and Caroline says that it was just a story, no ghosts. Her excuse of like, I brought water. It's like, dude, unless you're bringing it for Aunt Gladys.
Yes, yeah. When
Yes.
she grabbed the ball, I was like, fuck.
Plus,
that herby water and the anointed oil, that shit's all over the floor.
It
Yeah.
is.
Like, I was just very stressed. I was stressed about things that don't come into play in this.
No, and I did expect them to, like, for her to see one thing.
But like, what are these
Yeah.
herbs in Ben's hair? What is that? Like anything. She's just like,
She was rubbing it on his face.
Yes.
She's like, oh, I was telling him a story and he was lapping up water out of the bowl.
Yes.
What?
I don't think that happened.
Violet suddenly asserts that that'll be it for tonight. She dismisses Caroline, and when Caroline promises to come and check in on Ben later, Violet tells her that that won't be necessary. She bids her a cold goodnight. When Caroline leaves the room with the glass bowl, she hears the lock click behind her. Ugh. The storm continues to rage outside, but we glide through the halls of the Devereaux house to find Caroline in her bed, tossing and turning in a fitful sleep. Papa Justify's voice echoes lightly as she groans and twists in her sheets. We see flashes of the story. Papa Justify standing in the entryway in black and white. Mama Cecile taking a long drag from her cigarette and staring right at us. The terrifying doll with its face sewed shut in the attic. As Caroline continues to toss and turn, we float above her to see a lit circle of candles beneath her bed. Scissors snip a piece of blonde hair. Thick black thread is pulled through lips, sealing them forever shut. Caroline pushes open the door to the attic to find Grace and Martin inside a circle of candles, looking up at her with innocent expressions when Caroline whispers the little girl's name. Violet's voice echoes, calling out to Caroline in her southern drawl. We get a close-up of those lips, completely sewed shut, with the looping black thread before seeing Mama Cecile in profile, gently calling, Caroline. Caroline sits up in bed at the sound of a halting scream. Her skin is puffy and mottled, and thick black thread is sealing her eyes and mouth shut.
That is a very frightening visual.
Yeah.
This was so scary that it doesn't feel like it's part of the rest of this movie.
No.
Honestly, that's very fair.
Softley had said that this dream features imagery that was cut from the film. The thread going through the lips was part of this movie.
Oh.
And it got cut. So they put it in the dream instead.
Okay.
So I'm like, what was going to happen here? Because that is rough.
Yeah.
Right.
At least they found a place for it because it is pretty striking.
Yes.
Yeah. It almost feels like maybe there's some kind of like a silence spell or like some kind of something to keep
Ooh.
her from being ignorant of what's going on, or she's just doesn't understand.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I also liked the kind of maybe foreshadowing, like mirroring of her looking just like that doll that she found, down to the blonde hair. Like it is creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Caroline finally wakes from this nightmare with a ragged gasp as lightning flashes and thunder booms outside her window. She checks her bedside clock to find that it's 1:13 in the morning. Her compact mirror is sitting open on the nightstand, and she turns it to get a look at her door across the room. She does this just in time to see Violet leaving and closing the door behind her.
I already know now from Ben to be afraid of you.
Yes.
And now you're watching me while I sleep
Yeah.
and watching me after I have a nightmare.
Ooh.
Okay, Edward.
Yeah. No cuddles here.
No.
Caroline gasps and sits up, frightful. But when she goes out of her room to investigate, even calling out to Violet, there's no one there. She heads back into her room, closing the door behind her and switching on the light before snapping the compact shut.
I am sorry. What I know about this house and what I know about Violet in particular, there is no way in hell that I would feel comfortable sleeping / walking around this house in my panties.
Yeah,
Like, my vulnerable thighs, I don't know what.
I knew we were going there.
I don't know what you're planning to do, but again, I need to be able and proper to run
Okay.
and to also defend
Your thighs.
my thighs.
It's still pouring rain the next morning when Caroline is gathering her things and packing her suitcase, muttering, her and her ghost shit. She stomps back and forth collecting her belongings, but she stops when she passes the window. Ben sits on the porch, safe from the rain under the awning, but he looks out with a worried expression and his fists clenching the front of his coat. This sight stops Caroline in her tracks. She looks down into her open suitcase at the framed photograph of her as a child with her father. She looks back up at Ben, resolved, and instead of continuing to pack, she snatches her Nikon camera out of her suitcase and heads up to the attic.
I'm glad that this photoshopped picture of her and her dad made her prioritize.
Yes.
Rethink everything.
Yep.
It's very good.
She brings a folder of these pictures to Luke, leafing through the snaps of the strange dolls and items in the attic. She tells him that the room is full of this stuff, recipes, spells, books, and records of them. Eating what appeared to be a slice of pie as they stand on a balcony, Luke dismisses this with a grin. He understands her concern, but his family is superstitious too. They're called Baptists. Caroline asserts that this is different, but Luke finds it charming, the local color. Caroline reminds him that he himself said he was worried about Ben.
I don't know that he said that.
I don't remember him
Yeah.
saying that. I think that was something that was cut.
Oh, okay.
But taking her camera, Luke admits that now he's worried about Caroline. He questions, are you a nurse or a detective? He heads back inside, leaving Caroline annoyed, and John Paul is nodding.
Well, I mean, I get it. You were hired to come and just take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, no. And again, like I said, you should care, but there's a lot of extra time being spent going other places, doing other things.
She does seem to not be doing her job very much.
Yeah.
It's like, when are her off days?
Yeah. Well, hell, when are you taking care of dude?
At all.
Yeah. In his office, sitting across the desk from him, Caroline asks how long Luke has known the Devereaux. Luke shares that it was just before Ben's stroke. They were looking for a lawyer to update their wills. So,
Yeah.
Caroline wonders if Luke felt like Violet knew something was going to happen to Ben, but Luke doesn't understand how she would. He asks facetiously, tarot cards in the attic, a seance in her sleep. Switching gears, Caroline decides that she wants to know why the last girl quit. At a hospital, Caroline and Luke stand behind Nurse Trula, played by Trula M. Marcus, in the doorway. Nurse Trula calls out to Haley, played by Fonloni R. Harris, who sits next to her patient, tending to her. She turns when Nurse Trula alerts her that she's got visitors. Haley, Caroline, and Luke walk through a covered corridor outside, approaching a seating area. Haley asks Caroline if she's superstitious, and Caroline answers honestly, not particularly. Haley shares that when she told her mother where she was working, her mother warned her that that house was nothing but blood and tears, that the last owners were a rich brother and sister, supposedly crazy people who died of strokes right after they sold the place.
Huh.
I would have expected a bigger reaction to this because strokes, and Ben had a stroke, and it happened right after they sold the house to Violet and but it's like, oh, okay. Haley guesses that maybe they found something they shouldn't, and maybe now Ben did too. She points toward Caroline with her cigarette, positive that it might be their mess up there in that room, but no ghost put a spell on that old man. She did. Caroline is shocked that she really believes that, but Haley counters, "Don't you?" Caroline heard that it can't hurt you if you don't believe, but Haley shakes her head. She suggests to Caroline that she leave that house before she does then.
And you said that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You did.
She's like, right, guys?
Yeah.
After their conversation, Luke drives them away, annoyed as he passes the bayou, houses, a cemetery. He thinks that this is all ridiculous. Ben had a stroke, and now Caroline's going to take him away from his own wife? He scoffs that she can believe, but Caroline interrupts that she doesn't believe. The point is that Ben does. As they approach the gas station, Caroline recognizes it as the one she visited on her way to Terrebonne Parish. She tells Luke to pull over so she can show him. It's not just the Devereaux that believe in this stuff. Caroline leads him to the front door, where she points out the line of brick dust used to keep enemies from coming across and the hanging bones behind them. She says that this stuff has got a hold on people. Luke repeats that it's not real, but Caroline says that it doesn't matter if it's real to them. She abruptly stops talking when she hears muffled music coming from a house on the other side of a short bridge. She's positive that she's heard it before. She crosses the bridge and Luke trails behind her, asking if she's sure that this is a good idea. She follows the familiar music to the open door of a house, calling out to anyone inside, but receiving no answer. She and Luke stop at the line of crushed red brick at the threshold as the hanging bones clatter lightly in the breeze behind them. Luke asserts that his mama raised a gentleman, so Caroline steps over the line and enters the house alone.
His shoes stop just on the opposite side of that brick.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me, but also surprised me very much with what we see in just a couple of seconds. I thought he was going to stay outside.
I did too.
Yes.
I did too. I thought he was saying, my mama raised a gentleman, so I'm not going in, but I think he meant like ladies first.
Yes. But again.
Yeah. Caroline finds a woman sitting in a rocking chair with her back to the door. She sits in front of a fan, knitting, her hair blowing back. Caroline admits that she heard her record and she was wondering, but the woman interrupts, still not turning around. She asserts that there's no record for anyone here. Luke is suddenly standing next to Caroline as she presses further, asking, what about records by a man named Justify? And you were surprised that Luke was inside?
Yes.
So was
Yeah.
I. This finally gets her attention and she turns to Caroline, revealing herself to be the bayou woman she'd encountered earlier with the light milky eyes. And these eyes, Softley said, were enhanced by CGI, and it was one of the only instances of CGI that he allowed to be used
Okay.
because he doesn't like it.
Okay.
I do think that they appeared cloudier the first time we met her.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if it was just they were trying to make a frightful appearance, and now that we're actually speaking to her, they've kind of
Right.
reduced it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But even so, I don't know that that really makes a lot of sense.
Right. But she wants to know how Caroline knows that name. Who sent her? Caroline takes advantage of the woman's blindness to start shuffling through her records, the sleeves of which bear a striking resemblance to the one she found in the attic at the Devereaux house.
What are you doing?
I
I
swear.
know. Anxious now, the bayou woman turns and looks around, demanding to know who else is in here. Luke finally speaks up that it's just him, ma'am. The woman uses her cane to stand. She tells Caroline to stop touching her things, and Caroline obliges, but she asks if she knows about a record called The Conjure of Sacrifice. This stops the old woman cold, and in the resulting silence, Caroline shares that she has it. Pointing at Caroline, the woman asserts that if she had that, she wouldn't say so. It's the strongest conjuration of all. She explains that some say Justify discovered it, but he got killed before learning to work it, him and his poor wife. She approaches Caroline, confessing that it's never been found. Taking a step back, Caroline asks what it does, and the Bayou woman explains that it keeps you from dying, not forever, but for a while. Luke eyes this interaction uneasily, and when Caroline asks how, the woman continues that you have to sacrifice somebody and take the years they have left.
We're starting to get somewhere.
Yeah.
The plot is thickening for
Yeah.
sure. It's nighttime and pouring rain when Caroline and Luke leave the Bayou woman's house. They pull their coats over their heads as they run back over the bridge into the gas station where Luke's vehicle is still parked. Caroline yells over the thunder that they need to hurry. Ben has been left all alone with Violet. As soon as they're under the shelter of the gas station awning, Luke tells her to wait. He admits that she's even got him creeped out. So Caroline asks him point blank, if she gets proof that Violet is out to hurt Ben, will Luke stick by her? Luke clarifies that by hurt, Caroline means kill. But Caroline asks again, will he or won't he? Luke implores her to just stop and listen to herself. This is all Caroline needs to hear to turn her back on Luke and tell him goodbye. But Luke still has questions. What does Caroline think she's going to do? Kidnap Ben? Caroline points at Luke, certain that he knows there's something wrong with Ben. Luke doesn't dispute this, but he asks instead for time to call around and figure something out, like a restraining order or protective custody. She's not going to get a search warrant until tomorrow anyway. I don't know if we need a search warrant.
No.
I know.
And I'm not a cop.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't know. Caroline reasons that will give her tonight. Luke nods his agreement, and Caroline asserts that she's all Ben's got, just her. His face very close to Caroline's now. Luke sighs and tells her to just get the proof. So originally, this scene ended in a kiss between Luke and Caroline.
Oh.
And the test audiences really loved it, but the producers did not, so it was cut.
I think it should have been.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that works here, really.
Yeah.
Not really, and not what we've kind of established as them, interacting as characters. I don't know, maybe because things are heightened. I don't know. I think that there is something that was cut, or an original ending that was slightly changed. It's nothing major, but I think that if they would have kept that ending, it could have been interesting to have them kiss here. But I can't talk about that until later.
Right.
Caroline drives back home through the storm. She enters the house and calls out to Violet that she's back. Violet is in the kitchen, standing behind Ben's chair, snipping his hair with scissors as a pot boils on the stove next to a chicken carcass. Violet doesn't acknowledge Caroline. Instead, she goes to one of the kitchen drawers and pulls out a very thick, very familiar book with a bright red cover. She opens it to a page depicting the drawing of a spell. In her bedroom, Caroline opens her suitcase, but she's dismayed when she finds the cigar box alone inside. She searches through the flaps, wondering aloud, where's the record? It was right here.
That pisses me off a lot because you hid a sheet in this suitcase as well.
Yeah.
And it was very quickly stolen.
Yeah, no shit.
So
Stop putting shit
yes,
in here.
why would you bring the record back here? Leave it at Jill's apartment.
Yeah.
In Jill's apartment, she could have locked it in her car. She
Yeah.
could have done a lot.
Anything. I didn't even think about that.
It's just like,
man.
why?
Suitcase is not safe. In the kitchen, Violet gently rips the spell out of the book and folds it in half before turning back toward Ben, the lightning flashing against her face. Meanwhile, Caroline runs back into the storm to the shed, closing the door behind her. Thinking quickly, Caroline goes to a shelf and picks up a brown paper bag. After dumping it free of its contents, she stoops down and begins to fill it with the red brick dust, grabbing it handful by handful and dropping it inside. In the kitchen, Violet chops the feet off the mostly plucked chicken with a flat expression. And in her bedroom, Caroline lines the entrance to the door in brick dust and covers it with the rug. She calls out to Violet to come here for a second. Violet leaves the kitchen and starts toward Caroline's bedroom, commenting that she was beginning to worry because Caroline was gone for such a long time. Caroline walks further into the bedroom. She looks out of the window and says that it's really raining outside. Violet agrees. It's supposed to pour all night. She laments that the swamp is going to rise and ruin her flower beds. She asks what Caroline needed to see her for. Caroline is still clear across the room, pointing to a steady leak coming from the ceiling. She points up to it and brings it to Violet's attention, but Violet dismisses this. There's leaks all over the house. It's just rainwater. As the water continues to drip down, Caroline looks up at it, telling Violet that if you really look at it up close, she should come in and just let Caroline show it to her. Violet starts to take a hesitant step forward, but her foot halts in front of the rug hiding the brick dust. She keeps her foot outside of the room and she doesn't enter. Violet reconsiders. She actually has supper on the stove and she shouldn't leave it. Caroline assures her that this will only take a second, but Violet is positive that she can see it clearly from where she's standing. She holds out the kitchen towel in her hand, offering it to Caroline for the windowsill. Caroline accepts her offer and extends her own hand instead of going over to the door.
She's like, fuck.
This stumps Violet, who just stands there holding the towel.
Dude, just Mean Joe Green. Just toss it to her.
Yeah,
Hey,
for
kid.
real. Yeah.
Catch.
Caroline asks her again to come into the room for just a second, just so she can see what Caroline is seeing. Lightning flickers against Violet's face as she stands, frozen for a moment. But her face breaks into a grin as she chuckles, deciding that Caroline is a funny one. The teapot on the stove begins to whistle, giving Violet an excuse. She offers to make them some tea before turning and leaving with the towel. So she didn't even leave it. She didn't even leave it.
No, she's like, I'll leave it here. Just drops it on the floor. No.
Caroline walks across the room to close the door behind Violet, but Violet spins to address her again. After she gives Ben his remedies, would she be so kind as to join an old lady for supper? Caroline starts to decline the offer, but Violet interrupts. Wonderful. They should have done it days ago. She boasts that she's made something real nice before disappearing into the kitchen. I really like this scene a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like it is this like... They've kind of been playing cat and mouse this whole time, but it's now on Front Street. You saw her tearing a fucking spell out of the book. We're putting pieces together. Like, it's obvious that Violet is scary.
Yeah.
She wouldn't cross the dust that she didn't even know was there.
Right.
But the whole time there's this veil of
Yeah.
it's very cool.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm cooking. You know what I mean? Like, it's just I like this a lot.
But Caroline has to believe for this to work, right?
She has to.
Yeah. I don't think she wants to, but I think she does.
Right.
So would this mean if somebody's trying to make that happen, that a test has been passed? Right?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So maybe it's not, this moment was not so much for Violet.
Right. Ugh. In Ben's bedroom, Iko Iko by the Dixie Cups spins on the record player as Caroline approaches Ben with his remedies in one hand and a bowl of sugar cubes in the other. Instead of giving the medicine to Ben, she tells him flatly that they're leaving tonight. She dumps the cloudy liquid into the potted plant behind him. Afterwards, she sits in front of the window, using a syringe to inject the sugar cubes with medication from a clear glass bottle. Her eyes flit in the direction of Violet's voice when she calls her for dinner. This was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I was not expecting her to do that.
Thunder claps loudly as Violet eats gumbo at the head of the table. Caroline sits all the way at the other end, and the bowl of sugar cubes sits at the center. When Violet asks how her gumbo is, Caroline admits that she hasn't started. She abruptly asks if Violet wants any sugar for her tea. She put it out for her. Violet declines. She doesn't think she'll have any sugar tonight. But Caroline is confused. She thought Violet liked it. She always has sugar in her tea. I had an immediate thought at this scene watching it now, and Softley even said it on the commentary that a lot of people tell him that this movie reminds them of Misery, and that he thinks it's because of this scene, because that is all I was thinking when it's like, no, you don't want sugar? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's very much that scene with them at the table.
Yeah.
That's very fair. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Violet accuses Caroline of thinking she's senile, ghosts in the attic, and spells on her husband. Caroline counters that she just doesn't understand. Why would the ghost put a spell on Ben and not her when she's been in that room too? Violet proposes that it could be because she doesn't believe in them. Maybe all houses have spirits, but we just can't see them until we believe we can. I'll tell you, growing up, shit like that was the scariest thing to me, because I would watch a scary movie and then I would rationalize it as, well, I've lived this long, these ripe 8 years or whatever. And it's like, if this was real, it would have happened by now. If monsters really lived in the closet, it would have killed me already. And then the little dark voice in the back of my head would be like, well, it only didn't get you because you didn't know about it yet. And now you do.
Yeah, but I don't think that's fair. It's like a monster's waiting for you to watch It's Real.
Yeah.
Like, here's my greatest hits. And it's like, oh, shit, this is what you're...
It wants to be appreciated. So just that concept of maybe they're everywhere. And we talk about how fascinating the concept of a tulpa is, where it's only real if you believe it, but you believing it makes it real. It's not real if you don't. You know what I mean? Like, that shit blows my mind.
Right.
It's funny that you say growing up, because when I was watching this film for the show and she said that it was late at night, and I was like, no, don't say that.
Why the hell? What the fuck, Violet? She purses her lips and Caroline sets down her spoon, deciding that she's really not that hungry. Suddenly, the electricity goes out with a clang, and Violet and Caroline are left in darkness. Violet gets up, telling Caroline not to move. She'll fetch the candles, and Caroline can stay and eat her gumbo. She's never been so nice to her.
I know.
Caroline, I'm not eating this gumbo
Yeah, you really want me to eat
as much as I want to. She starts to leave, but comes back to the table, lamenting. Oh, fiddlesticks. She picks up the glass container of sugar cubes and takes it with her. As soon as she's gone, Caroline cuts out the middleman. She gets up and pours from the medicine vial directly into Violet's tea instead of relying on the cubes.
Dude, what the fuck?
Don't.
She hurries back to her chair and sits down just before Violet comes back into the room with 2 lit red candles. She sets them on the tabletop, musing. Dinner by candlelight. She sits back down and takes a drink of her tea as Caroline watches. Violet slightly grimaces as she sets the glass back down, and Caroline changes the subject, wondering if it was the storm that cut the power or the ghosts. Violet replies that you can say what you will about spirits, but she's always wondered if there isn't something we can learn from them. Caroline ventures, like a spell? Lightning brightens their faces, but Violet does not respond. Caroline fills the silence. She shares that she has a great respect for Violet's husband. Whatever he thinks happened to him, he's fighting it. So she asks, what did happen to him, Violet? Violet is more concerned with the fact that Caroline hasn't touched her gumbos.
I swear to God, it's not going to happen.
I know.
She made that special for her, and she hasn't even touched it. Caroline demands, what have you done? Raising her voice, Violet stands and declares that he is her husband and she is his wife. She will do to him whatever she wishes to do, which
Whoa.
is a
Yeah. It's like, hold on.
really concerning response. Caroline asserts that Ben is not safe in this house. Violet sways on her feet and brings her hand to her face, realizing that Caroline has done something. Caroline stays seated, accusing that Ben is not safe here with Violet, but Violet reminds her that this is her house. Caroline calmly counters that she's taking him, and Violet yells, no! But with the medication on board, this is enough to throw Violet off balance. She falls, smacking her head against the table and knocking over a chair when she goes down.
I think Caroline could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cops are like, we don't know anything about hoodoo, but that's attempted murder.
Yeah. What's in this vial?
Yes.
She groans on the floor, whispering that it's too late, not again. Caroline gets up from her seat as Violet plunges her hand into the pocket of her dress, growling, "You little whore, he's mine." That was a lot.
Wow.
Robin. She takes out her folded spell and a piece of chalk. With a shaking hand, still lying on her side, she drags the chalk across the floor, gripping the spell and chanting, "Keep him in this house. Keep him in this house." But Caroline just walks over to her, snatches the spell out of her hand, and leaves.
Yeah. Defiant till the end, though.
Yeah.
On the ground, passing out, still doing spells.
Yeah.
Actually, in a scene that we're about to see right now, where people are maybe running around in some slick rain,
Okay.
Jenna Rollins fell and broke her hand and hurt her arm, and she couldn't film for 5 weeks while her hand healed. And so this was shot, the scene where she's doing this on the ground, shot afterwards in California because they weren't even in Louisiana anymore. So Softley had said that she was still healing when she's laying there drawing on this chalk and stuff.
Oh, wow.
He was like, so she really like soldiered through and did a great job. But yeah, I was like, damn.
Damn. Okay.
As Caroline walks away, she unfolds the paper to find the name of the spell, Conjuration of Supreme Protection. She rushes up the stairs as Violet passes out on the floor of the dining room. Caroline goes into Violet's bedroom to search for the record. She checks under the bed, where Violet has outlined the perimeter beneath in crushed brick dust. Caroline pushes the bed, moving it across the floor and revealing a sigil, symbols drawn in a circle, only partially illuminated by her flashlight. She goes to the wardrobe, and after searching and finding a jar of brick dust, she finds the record. She also finds a folded white sheet, and when she unfolds it, Ben's message is still scrawled there. "Help me."
It's funny she didn't get rid of it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say. Some time has passed. You could have watched that already.
Caroline whispers, "You bitch." Another disturbing find is a lock of blonde hair.
Yeah.
And after comparing it with her own, Caroline finds that it was cut from her head. So this makes me think of her dreaming about blonde hair being snipped and that nightmare she had. And then when she wakes up, Violet's shuffling out of the room.
Yeah.
It had to have happened then.
Yeah.
She opens the door to Ben's bedroom and reveals that it's time to go. We cut to the front porch where Caroline pushes Ben in his wheelchair. She carries him to the car, placing him gently in the passenger seat before slamming the door. As Violet starts to stir on the dining room floor, Caroline races to the driver's side and gets behind the wheel. She slams down on the accelerator, speeding her and Ben to the front gate. But when she sees through the rain at the very last second that the gate is closed, Caroline brings her foot down on the brake. The tires skid through the mud, coming to a stop just in front of the gate, which we now see is somehow padlocked.
This, to me, it's like there's no way that Violet could be doing that
No.
alone.
Yeah.
No.
So what is going on?
Yeah. Caroline gets out of the car and inspects the padlock. When, of course, it doesn't budge, she grips the bars and shakes it in frustration, rattling it loudly. And inside the house, Violet is awake. She still clutches her chalk in her hand and she repeats to herself, "Keep him in this house." Caroline throws her car in reverse, backing away from the gates before shifting back into drive. She tells Ben to hold on before suddenly speeding back toward the gate and crashing right into it. The frame bends forward, parting at the center, but it is still held closed by the padlock at the top.
Yeah.
So Ben's dead.
This was a gamble.
Yeah, it sure was.
Sure.
Yeah.
Caroline grunts in defeat, smacking her steering wheel. In the dining room, Violet struggles to get to her feet, calling out groggily for Caroline. While outside, Caroline backs up again and races toward the gate, but the wheels of her bug slide in the slick mud. She quickly loses control of the vehicle, turning the wheel wildly until she crashes into one of the potted plants lining the way up to the house. This causes her car to swerve and finally come to a stop, dead. She tries to turn the keys, but the engine hisses and the headlights dim and go out.
You feel good about that, Caroline? Is that That'll make you feel better.
There were some mistakes.
Caroline gets out of the car and hurries to Ben's side, but Ben just lies down across the front seat with his eyes closed. He's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Violet is shuffling out of the dining room now, calling out for Caroline in a low voice. Caroline struggles to pull Ben out of the car, telling him that they need to hide him. Violet takes a shotgun from over the mantle as Caroline carries Ben into the shed. She lays him down on shelving, promising that she's going to get help. She is not going to leave him. She drapes a sheet over his face and goes back into the storm, closing the door of the shed behind her. She runs back to her car, but scurries away when Violet exits the house with her gun and her flashlight, screaming Caroline's name. When she spots her, she takes a shot, but she misses. Caroline cowers on the side of Violet's car as smoke curls from the barrel of the shotgun. Violet challenges her. Does she really think she can take him out of this house? She thinks she's stronger than Violet? She cautions that Caroline has no idea how strong she is. Caroline jumps up from the side of the car and flees, and Violet tracks her movement with the gun. She warns that Caroline is only making this harder on herself, but in the pouring rain, she loses sight of her, and Caroline is able to run to the bayou. She climbs into the boat and pushes it into the water, ignoring Violet's promise that she's only making this harder. She can't get away. She's never getting out of here. Caroline departs, using the oar in the boat to row away from the house. And when the sweeping beam of Violet's flashlight finds her, Violet tells her again to stop right there before firing her gun again.
She's not reaching her with that.
No, hell no.
This is when she fell and broke her hand. She said she had a flashlight in one hand and the gun in the other, and she had no way to brace herself when she fell.
Yeah.
And they're running. I mean, they have rain machines. It's pouring rain. I think it's this scene. It's either this one or an upcoming one. But both Kate Hudson and Softley said that Kate Hudson was drenched and soaked for 15 hours of the shoot day.
God.
Yeah. So it's really coming down.
Yeah.
15 hours?
Yeah.
God damn.
Caroline rows through the swamp until she hears people in the distance, and she picks up the pace. So this is really her rowing over this water. And Softley said that all of the crew, that it was teeming with bugs.
Oh.
And all of the crew were in suits, so they weren't getting bitten. But Kate Hudson was getting eaten the fuck up.
Oh, I bet.
Horribly.
Yeah.
But she did it. She did it herself.
Yeah.
We cut to her being dropped off outside of Luke's house. And I feel like we...
Missing.
Yes. Yeah. You fucking made it.
Yeah. Did she row all the way to the taxi depot?
She heard people in the distance, so I think we can infer she went to them and then got a ride to Luke's. But I feel like there's a lot of missing scenes there. She rings his bell and calls his name. Luke rips the door open, surprised to see her, and Caroline shares, dripping with rain. She tried to kill me. She walks into Luke's living room, spilling all the details. Violet had a gun, and she knows that Caroline knows, and Ben is in trouble. She dumps her bag onto the coffee table, telling Luke to call the police because Ben is still at the house. I'm like, oh yeah, she left him.
Yeah, dude.
She left him in the flooding shed with the blanket over his face.
He'll be fine.
She unfurls the blanket, finally able to show Luke Ben's desperate message as she asserts that they've got to get back there. Luke is like hell we do.
What?
Yeah.
Caroline repeats that she left Ben there. Luke sits next to her on the couch and counters that she didn't leave anyone. He tells her to slow down and asks what happened. Violet tried to kill her? Luke's phone begins to ring, and he shoots Caroline a knowing look as he answers it. Mrs. Devereaux. Violet interrupts him on the other end. He asks why he would have heard from Caroline. What's going on? He picks up his tape recorder from the table and holds it up to Caroline, excusing himself to the next room so he can record the conversation. Once he's gone, Caroline realizes that the song coming from Luke's record player is very familiar. She crosses the living room, past his drum kit, his desk, and stacks of records to take a peek at what's playing. Iko Iko by the Dixie Cups. She turns away, confused, and focuses instead on his desk.
So this is meant to be the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And part of it I understand, but it's also like, yeah, I could have the same record.
This is kind of a banger, actually.
Yeah. Who doesn't like Iko Iko?
There's a framed photo of Luke sitting with his arm around a smiling brunette woman. Next to the photo is a stack of books. Caroline looks through them. The Law for Beginners, Basic Wills and Trusts, Fundamentals of Estate Law.
Ooh.
The score drones ominously when Caroline moves the books out of the way to reveal several printed photos of her. Smiling outside her vehicle, walking candidly, striding across the street under her umbrella. Caroline stares down at these, and when she picks up another stack of photos of herself, something falls from it and clatters into the open desk drawer. Caroline picks it up to inspect it. A gold ring with a trio of snakes, gleaming rubies for their eyes.
That's familiar.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we shouldn't have kept all this shit just out.
Yeah. Just on the desk.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I was just studying.
Yeah.
And you've interrupted me listening to Iko Iko.
Yeah.
We also know that she does not respect people's privacy.
Yeah.
And I think I don't understand the need for stalking in photography.
Yeah.
Maybe to see what she's learning, if she's starting to be influenced or believe anything.
Okay.
Maybe, but it's like
Okay.
I was with you for the investigation.
That was after.
Okay.
Caroline's brows knit in confusion, and she's so transfixed by these discoveries that she doesn't notice Luke enter the room behind her. Inside this open drawer, she finds a skeleton key identical to her own, but this one is missing a ridge. Perhaps it broke off in a hidden attic door?
Ooh.
Oh.
Wordlessly, Luke comes up behind Caroline with cords. He wraps them around her neck and pulls. Caroline fights and the two stagger against his desk, knocking into his drum kit before Luke finally brings her to the floor. As Caroline slips into unconsciousness, the last thing she sees is Luke's face looking down at her. Her eyes close and Luke steps away, telling her gently, "Good night, child." Everything goes black.
That is a very surprising heel turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember just I don't even know where we even go from here the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I trusted you.
Yeah.
You know? He seems so folksy and cool and helpful.
Yeah.
Aside from him being like, what, you found his laundry or whatever? But otherwise, I was like, I really thought that it was the two of you kind of, you know,
Yes.
Right.
solving this mystery together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was another outsider just trying to help.
Right.
Doing,
Yeah.
You know
Seriously.
What I mean?
Yeah. That shot of him coming into the room before he grabs her, Softley said that there was a lot of debate on whether to include that or not. He made the decision to keep it because Hitchcock said to be afraid of the bomb going off, you need to see the bomb first.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the choice was Luke entering this room as the ticking bomb, or them just having the jump scare of him grabbing her. And so he chose to include, like, while Caroline's distracted, him kind of slinking back into the room.
Yeah.
It's a small but thoughtful choice.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Because it would have felt cheaper.
Definitely.
Right. If we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After sweeping over the water, we find Luke's vehicle driving down the highway. Caroline wakes up in the passenger seat with a gag in her mouth and blues playing on the radio. She sputters against the gag, and Luke remarks that it's a hell of a thing, isn't it? Everywhere you look, it's a whole new world all around you. It's like being born or dying. But of course, he wouldn't know.
What?
Yeah, what?
Are we giving away the whole game?
Yeah, I know.
He's like, I'm in love with you, Caroline.
Yeah.
Caroline's sobs are muffled by the gag when she sees that Luke has driven her back to the Devereaux house. After he parks, he pulls Caroline from the passenger seat. She puts up all the fight she can, and he's dragging her by the time they reach the door. He tells her to hush, commiserating that he knows it's hard. When they burst through the front doors, Violet is waiting there with the shotgun. Yanking Caroline to her feet, Luke announces, "We're home!" But Violet reports that he's missing. Caroline's hidden him somewhere. Luke unties the gag and lets it fall loose. He questions Caroline. Where is he? But Caroline isn't answering. As Violet steps up to her, Caroline asserts that it's her that Violet wants, not him. Violet wants to sacrifice her. Tears run down her face, dragging mascara with them. From behind her, Luke brushes her hair to the side and asks again where he is. Softley said that they had made the decision to use a lot of really dark mascara for Kate Hudson because they thought that it running looked like added a gothic element to her aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caroline spins on him, demanding to know why he's helping her. She sobs, but Luke doesn't respond to this. He just takes the gun from Violet and asks if everything's ready. Violet says no. She can't start anything until she knows where he is. What's their tale if he gets away? Violet grabs Caroline by her hair, threatening that she's going to tell her exactly where her husband is. There's nothing anyone can do for him, so there's no need to try. Caroline's sight falls past Violet, and we zoom past the candle-lined entryway to the line of brick dust in front of her room. With no further fight, Caroline offers. He's in the garden shed. Violet lets go of her hair and heads outside, ordering Luke not to scratch her up any more than she already is. As soon as she's gone, Caroline turns to face Luke. She says that Violet is teaching him. He'll help Violet kill her, and she's going to teach him how. She backs up quickly, asserting that Ben knew too. She hurries down the hall, her arms still tied behind her back, but she stops when Luke raises the gun and shouts for her to stay right there. She does, her breath shuddering as she turns back to admit that she just wants her father's picture. She wants it with her. She asks Luke, "Please." Violet pushes the door open to the shed, and her footsteps slosh through the standing water as she approaches a shelf with something bin-shaped concealed under a white sheet. In the house, Luke relents, lowering the gun. If she wants her picture, he'll get her the goddamn picture. He grabs her by the arm and leads her to her bedroom. But at the last minute, Caroline shoulder checks him and pulls herself free. She hurries into her room where the brick dust peeks out from below the rug. Luke eyes this and stays on the other side of the door, frozen. Caroline slams the door and presses her back against it. And frustrated, Luke kicks it.
Well, I mean, what can he do?
He's mad. In the shed, Caroline's flashlight falls upon the sheet. She rips it off to find Ben, armed with garden shears. His face contorted in rage, he snips them at her, but Violet is able to get a grip on his arm. Luke raises the shotgun and fires at the door, but it clicks dryly, and he opens it to see that there's no shells inside.
Wow.
He cries out, "Fuck!"
Hey, is that our one for the PG-13?
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
In the shed, Violet overpowers Ben and the garden shears fall, splashing in the water. Caroline kicks her window, shattering the glass. Luke hears this and yells out to Violet that Caroline's going outside. He hurries out the front door just in time to see Caroline, too fasting around the side of the house. As Luke sprints cartoonishly back through the house, he was running really funny.
Yeah, he was clopping, dude.
Caroline goes to the broken window and saws at her restraints with the glass until she's free.
She's wily, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
They underestimated her.
Yeah.
She runs back to find herself face to face with Violet, who screams for Luke that she's here. Luke doubles back, and Caroline, thinking quickly, starts to scurry up the trellis. When it cracks beneath her feet, Luke is able to reach and grab her, but Caroline kicks him away and is able to climb in through a window. Softley said that Peter Sarsgaard and Kate Hudson were doing all their own stunts here.
Whoa.
That she was really climbing up this trellis that was like 25 feet off the ground.
No way.
Damn.
He said that he was surprised that she wanted to do it, but it made filming it a lot easier because they didn't have to cut.
I bet.
Yeah. Inside, Caroline snatches up 2 jars of red brick dust and gets to work. She shakes out a line across the threshold of the front door. Luke opens the door but halts at the sight of the brick dust. He reports to Violet that Caroline fixed the door. He comes in from the back door, only for Caroline to have drawn another barrier, stopping him from entering the entryway. After blocking his access to the stairs, Caroline runs up to the second floor. Luke cries out to Violet that he can't get up the stairs.
I don't know why that hit me just right. It was cracking me up.
We follow the jars of brick dust as Caroline sprints past every door, leaving a trail along the outside. But at one of these doors, she's startled when it opens. Somehow Violet is in there.
I wanted to know how this is possible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I,
Maybe a window. I don't know. I mean, she's not wet though.
no.
Unless
What is she,
she's
Latope?
not.
Yeah.
Unless she ran inside before Caroline was able to. I don't fucking know. I'm
Because she
trying.
wouldn't have been able to get past the brick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying before she was able to get in and do that.
So she
So maybe when she was like, Luke, she's right here.
yeah. But she was
She's
also
second.
tussling with Ben and the shears or
Yeah.
Correct.
whatever. Well, there's a teleportation pod in the
Yeah, all
okay.
right.
shed. It leads right up to the second floor past the brick.
Well, she kicked in one of those windows, right?
I'm sure. Yes, she must.
Sure.
Have.
Yeah. Fuck it.
It was a deleted scene.
Yeah.
Yes. Caroline gasps raggedly as Violet grabs her by the hair again and questions her through gritted teeth. You tried to use my tricks on me? Then surprisingly, she hits her with the pocket sand.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think that's magic.
No.
That was personal.
It's just dirty. Yeah.
She blows brick dust into Caroline's eyes. Caroline covers her eyes with both hands and moans in pain as Violet drags her around the upstairs, knocking her into a lamp that shatters on the floor. Caroline tries to fight back, but Violet slams her against the wall. Finally, Caroline musters all her strength and pushes Violet, flinging her over the railing. Violet goes flying, rolling down the stairs until she finally reaches the first floor. It is a nasty fall, and she lies on the ground twitching, her legs badly injured. Luke, I don't know. Luke is still blocked by the dust lining the doorway. He sinks to his knees and is like, no! He's punching the ground. He's
Yes.
very upset.
Yes.
Find a broom or something.
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 Shop vac.
Yes. Honestly, you don't even have to be near it.
Nope.
Caroline is watching all of this in horror, but when she locks eyes with Luke, she turns away, stumbling slightly and looking a little dazed. She hears the beeping of a phone, alerting that it's been left off the hook, and she finds it in the hallway. She grabs it up and opens with the skeleton key the door that leads to the attic stairs. Caroline's vision is doubling, the numbers on the phone shaking as she punches in 911. She hears the lift rattle loudly, and we see that Violet is using it to return to the second floor. So Softley said that this was an idea on the day, that it's not in the script that she uses the lift to get upstairs during this climax,
Okay.
that she's just somehow upstairs. And I think that it is an ominous shot of her looking up as the lift is rising.
Yeah.
But then later when I see light bulbs, I remember that the electricity is supposed to be off.
Oh.
Well, maybe this is just like an old fashioned.
It's a magic
Yeah.
7.
Yes. Precisely.
Caroline brings the phone to her ear with a trembling hand, and when the operator answers, Caroline stammers out her name and the Devereaux's address. She requests police and paramedics, reporting that there are people hurt here and they're trapped. Violet looks upward sinisterly as the lift continues to carry her, bypassing the stairs that she can no longer climb. Caroline pleads with the operator to hurry before disconnecting the call. She punches in another number, and when Jill answers, she asks what time it is. At the sound of her friend's voice, Caroline begins to cry. She tells Jill in a quavering voice that she's in trouble. Violet is upstairs now, heaving as she drags herself across the shiny wooden floor. Caroline admits to her friend in a whisper that it's real. It's all real. Jill doesn't understand. She asks where Caroline is. What's real? Caroline tells her quietly that she's in the Devereaux's house, but the call is abruptly disconnected. Caroline pulls at the phone cord to find the end, frayed and cut. It wavers and doubles in her vision. Violet reaches the door and bangs on it, promising that she can't get away. Horrified, Caroline turns and scrambles up the stairs to the attic. There, she finds a circle of white lit candles on the floor and mirrors positioned around it. She pleads, "Oh God, no." But when Violet's voice floats up to her, Caroline snaps into action. She slams the door and locks it with the skeleton key before pulling out the spell and consulting it. She whispers the ingredients as she reads them: chalk, sulfur, blood, hair. She sprints through the attic, collecting the items she needs, becoming increasingly disoriented. Once she finds the sulfur and chalk, she brings the items to the center of the circle. After lighting a red candle and placing it in the middle, she uses the chalk to draw on the wooden floor, replicating the design in the picture. She opens the lid of the jar of sulfur and spills it along the circle she's drawn. Using a knife, she cuts a chunk of her hair and hurriedly sprinkles it the same way. She slices into the pad of her hand, drawing blood, and she stamps this blood at the 4 eyes she's drawn in the circle, representing north, south, east, and west. For just a moment, in black and white, we see the small hand of a child repeating the same movement. The door finally swings open and Violet is revealed. Bleeding from the forehead, she informs Caroline, "My child, I believe you broke my legs." Caroline thrusts the knife at her, secure in the center of the circle. She boasts that Violet can't touch her. She can't get near her. Violet drags herself across the floor as Caroline points out that this is Violet's spell of protection. Violet questions cheekily, "Is that what that is now?" She wonders, "Who exactly gave you that spell?" She grips one of the mirrors and turns it to face Caroline. Violet educates her. All that circle does is protect Caroline from leaving it.
I would be so upset.
Damn. Yeah.
And I didn't even I snatched it from you. I thought that but you wanted me to.
Yep. Yeah.
I would feel so stupid.
I fell for it.
Yes, she was playing the long con, for real. Caroline looks around, realizing what she's done. Still, she points the knife at Violet, warning her to stay back or she'll kill her. But Violet isn't afraid. She tells Caroline matter-of-factly that they've been waiting for her to believe. It doesn't work if you don't believe. We see a hand dropping the needle on a record, the ruby-eyed snake ring glinting off his finger in the low candlelight. He sets aside the record sleeve. Papa Justifies Conjure of Sacrifice, August 24th, 1920, New Iberia Parish. As Papa Justify's voice floats over to her, Caroline looks down at the circle she's standing in before offering her denial in an uncertain voice. "I don't believe." Violet grips onto the large wooden frame of the mirror to hoist herself up. Her bulging and bleeding legs start to buckle, but she continues to pull herself. She counters, "Oh, I think you do." Luke walks the hallway downstairs, holding a candle and speaking to himself. The weakness is the flesh, the flesh, the flesh. Her voice steadier now. Caroline repeats that she doesn't believe. Her view of Violet is shrinking to a blurry pinhole, and Caroline blinks harshly to try to clear her vision. Violet smirks as she hides behind the mirror, gripping the sides of it with both hands. Her voice trembling, Caroline cries out to her own reflection, "I don't believe in it." Violet cackles from behind the mirror, and before Caroline's eyes, her reflection suddenly becomes that of Grace Thorpe. Luke is still walking the halls, droning, the flesh, the coil. Caroline asserts again that she doesn't believe. Luke begins to mount the attic steps as Violet holds on to the mirror. The world shakes, but Caroline repeats again and again that she doesn't believe. Her reflection is Grace Thorpe. It's Violet Devereaux. Caroline pleads, "No." The light fixture above her rattles, and Violet clings to the mirror, screaming like a banshee. In Caroline's reflection, Violet Devereaux morphs into Mama Cecile. Caroline sobs again that she doesn't believe. Violet pushes the mirror forward, collapsing to the ground as it glides across the floor, still reflecting Mama Cecile's calm and knowing face. Finally, it crashes into Caroline, silencing her as she falls with the mirror on top of her.
That went well.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It just keeps getting worse.
I know.
I really appreciated how this was shot.
Yes.
How everything kind of comes together finally.
Yes.
We're starting to pick up and really understand everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I just think that this was a very successful sequence.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
Yes.
So much stuff is happening, and it's honestly scary as hell.
It is.
It's really good.
It really is. The impact of the fall blows out all the candles, and smoke curls from them in the still attic. Caroline and Violet both lying motionless. From outside the house, we can see the lights flicker back on. The bulbs in the attic illuminate the display beneath them. Caroline and Violet on the ground, the smoking candles extinguished, the mirror shattered and broken. Caroline finally opens her eyes and pushes the mirror off of her. She gets to her feet and walks over to Violet, who lies whimpering on the ground. Her cigarettes and lighter have spilled from her dress pocket, and Caroline picks these up wordlessly. She brings the long, dark cigarette to her lips and fumbles with the lighter before bringing the flame to the end of it and lighting it. Her voice is in a low and certain drawl when she speaks. "Thank you, child." What the fuck?
Dude, that's a gasp.
Luke finally enters the room and asks her, "Cecile, you all right?" Cecile and Caroline Ellis's body sighs, "I'm fine, Justify." Justify and Luke Marshall's body muses that she was a fair bit harder than the lawyer, wasn't she?
We have just lost cabin pressure.
Yeah.
I as a 14-year-old, this is like
Head is exploding.
yes.
Yeah.
Cecile shakes her head that it's harder every time. They just don't believe like they used to. You have to get them all riled up. Cecile fixes her new blonde hair as she stands in the mirror. Justify comes behind her, and as they gaze at their reflection, Cecile explains that she told Justify she wanted a black one this time. But Justify reminds her that she knows the black ones never stay, and beggars can't be choosers. So I like this and I don't like this.
Yeah, it felt a little weird.
I like this because looking back, right? Because before we watched this a few months ago, I hadn't seen the Skeleton Key in years. And looking back as an adult with a fully formed brain, I was like, I feel like everybody in the Skeleton Key should have been black. I don't think our lead should be white. Like thinking back in my memory.
Right.
Rewatching it, I was like, okay, I like this line because just like we saw with Haley, all these other nurses are getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And not to lean on stereotypes, but we know in horror movies the people that yell hello instead of getting the fuck out of here.
Right.
So I thought that was funny and I liked that. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, I'm like, was this just an excuse for Hollywood to cast a blonde white woman in this role instead of a black woman?
Right.
So I think it's like, it's bittersweet because it's like, oh, hell yeah, that's good. But
Yeah,
also
yeah.
it's like, now hold up. What was the reason?
Right.
Wrapping his arms around his wife, he says that he thinks it fits her beautifully. It's better than Violet or Grace even. Cecile grins and smokes her cigarette. Justify assures her that she'll get used to it. They always do. Violet begins to groan loudly on the floor, feeling her face in shock. Justify hands over a glass of cloudy water to Cecile, who muses that the thing folks don't understand about sacrifice is sometimes it's more of a trade. Caroline, now residing in Violet Devereaux's body, sobs, begging, "Get me out of here." Instead of doing that, though, Cecile reassures her as she brings the remedies to Caroline's lips for her to drink.
Again,
Are you pulling my dick, bro?
Yeah.
I can't even believe this.
And it's so sad, her feeling her face and realizing what's happening, watching herself that's not herself.
And then you really start to understand every single moment and reaction from Ben.
Yes. Because that's Luke
Yeah.
in Ben's body.
Yeah.
Get me out of here, he says. She says.
Oh.
Very interesting.
There's 2 words in there that are
Yes.
familiar.
It feels very prototype.
Yes.
Like before, the idea we had, we can do something else with that.
It is surprising to me. I can't remember who pointed it out first because it was like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was
We were like,
mentioned
wait
in
a minute.
discussion.
Yeah.
But it is kind of wild that it is very similar and gone a completely different way.
Yeah.
To get out.
Yeah.
Right.
Very impressive.
Later, a car drives through the flooded path to the Devereaux house, and they said that the water that they're driving through is the result of a real storm.
Oh.
Damn.
But it's Jill that gets out and hurries past the ambulances and police cars parked in front of the house. She walks through the front door where Cecile is telling the paramedics that she just thought it was a fall, but now she can't move or speak. Justify adds that it's like a stroke or something. Jill walks in through the open front door and calls out for Caroline, who is really Cecile, and Cecile mutters, "Dearie me." But at the sight of her best friend, the real Caroline, who is inside of Violet's body on the stretcher, widens her eyes in surprise and tries to call out to her, but is only able to produce a weak groan.
Heartbreaking.
I know.
Yeah. Jill reminds Cecile that she called her, and Cecile is understandably confused. Caroline, though, again in Violet's body, is still trying to communicate with Jill, and Jill glances at her before turning her attention back to Cecile. She reiterates that she called her for help. When Cecile doesn't respond, Justify jumps in, explaining that she's not herself right now. He introduces himself as Luke Marshall, the Devereaux's lawyer. Jill introduces herself, Jill Dupay, Caroline's roommate. This is enough for Cecile to step forward, affecting Caroline's voice and suddenly remembering that she did call Jill. Fiddlesticks. She doesn't know what possessed her.
Fiddlesticks?
Yeah.
Jill has nothing for that?
I know.
But she's probably like, the old people infected you or whatever.
I knew it would happen.
Jill says that it's all right, but her eyes fall on Caroline, whimpering from within Violet's body. Cecile shakes her head that they need real care now. They can't stay here. She says that it's all her fault, but Jill pulls her into a hug, assuring her that it's not. Cecile accepts the hug, but she just stares forward coldly. Caroline is still trying to talk when the paramedic, played by Joe Crest, wheels her out.
Joe Crest, he was in Lisa Frankenstein in 2024, and he's on Stranger Things.
Yes! Playing basically the same character in both, but he's the dad from Stranger Things. He doesn't even talk here.
Yeah.
So unbelievable.
I know.
I was like, ain't no way, but it's totally him. Cecile steps forward to watch them go. She realizes that someone should probably ride to the hospital with them. She turns to Jill, wondering if she would mind. I'd be like, bitch, I don't know this.
I know. What?
That's a very wild request.
Yeah.
And what field of work is Jill? What does she do?
Oh, it's never. I don't think we ever say.
Because in what world is like the paramedics are like, jump in, just get in there,
Scrub it.
You don't even know them.
No.
Cecile says that they can meet her there, and Jill nods. Of course she will. Whatever Caroline needs. Cecile leaves the room. Jill starts toward the front door, but stops when Justify speaks up. He confides that she meant so much to them in the short time she was here. They really loved her. Jill wonders why he'd say that. Justify walks over to Jill and places a hand on her shoulder, smirking that it's in their will. They left her the house.
Wow.
I know.
A very good plan.
Yeah.
Death Letter begins to play again as Caroline, trapped inside of Violet's body, and Luke, trapped inside of Ben's body, eye each other in the back of the ambulance.
That look of understanding.
Yeah. I'm like getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because they're so haunted.
Yeah. It's like, we're fucked.
Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
Inside, Justify slides the snake ring on his finger, and we take a long look at the framed photograph in front of them. A black and white picture of Papa Justify and Mama Cecile in their true forms. So this is kind of the last shot before we kind of extract ourselves from the story.
Yeah.
The original ending was them as they are now kind of making out because they're alone now. And we pull out from the house and float above like we're about to right now. And so I think that I know it's like, okay, if we kept that as the ending, I think it would be interesting to have these two people kiss as... Well, it wasn't even Luke. It was still Justified.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, cut the
yeah.
kiss. But I was going to say it's interesting to see these two actors kissing under completely different circumstances.
Oh, okay.
With Kate Hudson playing two different people.
Yeah.
There could have been like a nuance in the performance.
Right. But also, it's like, I know that they have done bad things.
Yeah.
But they're victims as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so... You don't want Justify to be out here slutting it up and making out with fucking Kate Hudson. I kind of only want him to be making out with Cecile.
Right.
Because it's like a soulmate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't need either kiss.
No.
Maybe they did the right thing.
And it's honestly very funny if that's why they're like, no, Jill, you have to go.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of business to attend to.
We got some catching up to do. But Softley did say that he thought it would be more important to end it on this image of who they really are.
Okay.
And I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly think that it's a stronger ending on that photograph than
For sure.
the shot that we get for the ending.
Yes, I agree. Because we press in on the photograph before floating above the Devereaux house, and we go higher and higher until it finally cuts to black and the credits roll. So, what did you guys think of The Skeleton Key?
What a really good movie. That was really cool. Caroline, there was a couple of things that I didn't really agree with her doing or kind of what was going on. But I mean, I do understand the story and kind of how we have to move on through it. And if there was stuff filmed and then they just cut it out, then yeah, it's going to hurt other things that are coming up. But man, what a really good story. What an interesting way in the care, like you said, they took with all the hoodoo and everything in the area. And like, that's really, really cool to do that. And it does kind of come through in the movie. It feels these areas feel authentic because they are. But I think everybody did a really good job here. And I would definitely watch this again. Like, honestly, I really would. I know you guys watched it a lot, but like I said, for me, this was my second watch. And this is one of the movies I think could be thrown in the rotation.
For sure. I'm surprised that it took so long to bring it back into the rotation for me and Nay, because it's been years.
Yeah.
But I really did appreciate it this time, and also understanding more as an adult.
Yeah.
Watching it and getting more of the story and feeling the gravity fully of the twist.
Yes.
Because I feel like even though I understood it as a 14-year-old kid, there are nuances to it that are very, very interesting. Historical implications, things that I just didn't grasp as fully as I do now.
Yeah.
But I think that when you said earlier that it had mixed and poor reception, that's very surprising to me.
Yeah, honestly.
This is one of those films that I thought was widely understood or considered as one of the better films of this era. And so it's kind of surprising to hear that the critics didn't really go for it.
It's funny that every like teenage movie that you love, you just assume that everyone loves.
Yeah.
Like, because I always do that. Like, even with Thinner, I was like, wait, people don't like this movie? It's like, it's beloved. What are you talking about?
And I would figure this, even if it had mixed reviews, I'd figure that they would be more on the good side.
Right.
I don't understand, because even when you look at the twist, they set it up so well. They do it so interestingly through the performances that you can go back.
Yeah.
And a lot of moments make more sense. Lines of dialogue that really only hit your ear weirdly once you know.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that's a very well crafted narrative.
Yeah.
And I think that it's performed incredibly well because they are playing, well, each of them like 2 or 3 different characters.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty impressive. And I definitely will probably watch this again soon or bring it back into that rotation. There's just a lot to enjoy here, and it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
I still love this. I think after our conversation, I might love it a little bit more, if I'm being honest. What I had kind of alluded to that I couldn't explicitly say earlier was that when I was younger, watching this, I don't know, 100 fucking times, I never fully grasped that it was their children in Justify and Cecile's bodies that they were killing.
Yeah.
Until we watched it. Whenever we watched it, the credits started rolling and I said, oh my fucking God. Like, it dawned on me. I'm like, that is, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And they're watching from the window.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know. Like you, T, it is very shocking to hear. It's like, how do you watch this and not like it?
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
You know, I really appreciate the respect that such heavy themes were handled with. These are real, genuine belief systems and practices, and it's not an ornament. It's not just a weird thing to fucking throw in an attic. Like, they were as respectful as they could be, trying to learn the correct way to do things, learning from the people that practice it themselves, having them on set, having them teach them. Like, I think that I just really want to highlight that, because a lot of films, unfortunately, don't take the extra step to respect.
Yeah.
Which isn't an extra step, but apparently it is.
You feel like it
Yeah.
should be natural to do.
Yeah.
It should be,
Or
yeah.
to want to do.
And I feel like, especially, we talk a lot about, you know, the context of the time in which things are made, and for them to take that kind of care in 2005
Yeah.
is like, because it was the fucking Wild West.
Yeah.
I loved learning more about this. I love kind of reflecting on watching this as a teenager and realizing that it may have set some tastes for, you know, things that I still enjoy and am fascinated by to this day. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I do think that it was probably a better representation of New Orleans than
Stay Alive.
Yes. Yeah.
And I still do want to go one day. And
Yes.
we will.
Yeah.
We will.
We can, I feel like I've yapped enough. I feel like I'm losing my voice. We can kind of slide into ratings. I think that there are some extremely, like we've all said, heavy themes handled here. A lot of very dark history, a lot of very hallowed cultural beliefs and practices. And I think that they were able to kind of weave those things into a very compelling story that really rewards you on a rewatch, because you, like you were saying, T, you see these lines, what, you want a Southern accent? It's like,
Yeah.
she does. So she
Yeah.
doesn't have to fake somebody's voice when she's talking to people that know her.
Yeah.
Are your parents still alive? Things where it's like, wow, they were fucking laying the groundwork from day one.
Yeah.
And what did he say? He's like, you know, you're the only woman for me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And she was pissy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just really good. That shot of Luke and Caroline looking at each other in these bodies that they're trapped in, the flashback of that horrific party that they had, and seeing it in a completely different context when you rewatch it. There are some scenes that I physically reacted to that I really appreciate. And like you were saying, it's not something that you can understand just casually watching it. It's when you get older, you're like, God damn, we're talking about some real shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I really, really enjoy it. I know that it's not perfect. I think that there were scenes that were cut that maybe shouldn't have been. And I also think that there were scenes that were cut that definitely needed to be. We didn't need 2 makeout scenes in this one.
No.
We just didn't, you know? And I think everybody does a phenomenal job. I really want to, once again, point out John Hurt's performance.
Yes.
Because what he was able to convey just physically, it's remarkable. But yeah, I think everybody did a great job. I think Kate Hudson was awesome. I think Peter Sarsgaard did a really good job of threading that needle of folksy and charming, but also what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just really good. And the setting is fucking New Orleans. We got Spanish moss and jazz, and we're, slow motioning on the dance floor and talking about ghosts.
Well, one of those things is not like the other.
No.
I love the inclusion and the context of hoodoo, and just, I don't know. I really still love this movie, and admitting that it's not perfect, I'm not going to give it a 10, but my score still might be a little too high. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, blessed brick dust barriers, I am giving The Skeleton Key 8.5 out of 10 blessed brick dust barriers. I'm pleased to learn that I still love this movie after all these years.
Yeah.
And I will now open up the floor to you.
No, I had a lot of fun talking about the movie with you guys, and again, this was a second watch, and I did really enjoy this, and I do feel like upon more rewatches, I'll probably like it a little more every time, that we do check it out. I enjoyed the beginning and the end, the middle. There's a few times, like I said, for me, they're personal little gripes, but I do wish Caroline would have probably said something more about not believing towards the beginning, instead of after we learn all of this, and then she's like investigating and doing stuff to help him, but then she keeps saying, I don't believe. It's like, okay. It's like, you've read, like, maybe not. But other than that, I mean, like I said, those are small gripes. You know what I mean? Everybody did a really good job, like a damn good job. The shot of her coming up in the lift and looking up, that was fucking scary. And her legs are broken, and then her saying that.
Terrified.
It looks like you broke my legs or whatever. It was like, oh my God, dude.
Why are you not screaming?
Yeah. You're not in pain? What? It is good. You know what I mean? Everybody does a very, very good job. And I would recommend this movie to anybody to watch. I think, other than, like I said, the few small things I have, the movie's not perfect. There's a couple of weird cuts, but again, I definitely watch this again. I mean, it's fun. We had fun.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that said, on a scale from 1 to 10, blessed brick dust barriers, I'm going to give The Skeleton Key a 7 out of 10. I did like this movie. That was good. Like I said, the few little things I had to nitpick about, they're fine.
I agree. And I know throughout, as we're talking about it, there are things, a few things that feel a little maybe inconsistent.
Yeah.
Maybe with just the character of Caroline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That could be ironed out, or maybe there are some things in these deleted scenes that could be more helpful.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I think that there is a lot to really, really love here.
Yeah.
Still.
Mm-hmm.
And just one more time, just the respect paid to culture and region.
Yes.
And history.
Yes.
I think that is very, very important. And they did a really excellent job of balancing a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to give a shout out to the music as well. Again, I didn't get to talk about the score really, but the score is really, really impressive. And the soundtrack selections are pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I would just be repeating everything that's been said before to just echo how great the cast is, the production design, the use of this plantation means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think that they made an excellent choice with the things that they did there.
Mm-hmm.
And who has taken ownership of this plantation.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very important. So, I mean, I will say I don't know that I can go as high as you, Nay.
Nah, that's fair. It's too high.
Like, I'll admit it. But I think that the power of nostalgia is an important thing too.
Yeah.
So for me, because I think I came here probably with about a 7. But on a scale from 1 to 10, blessed brick dust barriers, I'm going to give The Skeleton Key a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's still a lot to enjoy here, and I think that it's one worth watching if you haven't, and worth revisiting if you haven't in a long time.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate The Skeleton Key, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Instagram at the Pod Mortem. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like our Stairhole Productions page on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Blood and Smoke, at Juggalo Daddy 84, and at Travis MWH. Thanks again to Original Cinematic for sponsoring this week's episode. Please consider pledging to our Patreon, where you'll get over 250 hours of bonus content, our monthly schedule, access to our Discord server, and the opportunity to help us decide which films to cover. And if you're looking for Pod Mortem or Stairhole Productions merch, follow the link in our episode notes. Stay tuned until after the music for a special shout out to our Wendigo Getter patrons. And remember, our minds are more powerful than we give them credit for. Be wary of what you choose to internalize, because if you believe it, then it is so. Until next time. Thank you for staying tuned for a special thank you to our Wendigo Getter patrons.
Woo! Yeah!
Very good. A special thank you to
Chris Ontiveros, Kristen Lofton, Megan Martinez, Kimberly Bass, Sophie Hodson, Anthony Jerome M., Jordan Nash, Kent Morton, Lala Thomas, Travis Anissa Hunter, Miguel Myers ATX, Jennifer Perez, Allison O'Neill, Carissa, TJ and Angie Bronson, Andy Teague, Applin Ontiveros, Karima Rhodes, Kimberly Kleindienst, Bobby Holmes, Donna Eason, JD Rezak, Molly Gerhard, Armand Spasto, Aaron Nagari, Eggy, William Barry, Charity Oxner, Amanda Six, Mandy Rainwater, Jordan Roberts, Dylan, Spencer Montalvo, Pancake the Panda, John Ramos, Michael Nuding, Alexis Roberts, Itzy M., Gary Horton, Kate Lamp, Carlos and Sydney, Jessica Hunter, Helena Rutter, Alan Johnston, Mariah, Livy Fun, Scott Troutman Wise, Mozzie Bear, Dave Burke, Emma Hagel Kissinger, Valerie G., Emiliana, CB, Taylor Santana, Will Lewison, Angelique, Smelly Poo Poo Head, Beth Bauer, Cookie, Esperanza J., Jason Cow OKC, Joshua Rumley, Danielle Peralta, Sawyer Reese Farr, Sahara, Girl That's Scary, Cassandra, Andrea Simmons, Ashley Higuera, William and Xxena Rush, Ryan Brom, Megan Ochoa, Laura Lassiter, Eileen O., Marissa E., Henry F., Megan M., Strangely Sarah, Christy Beck, Nancy and Andy, Amanda Lopez, Andy Terrell, Erica Morin, Tris Wynn, K.87, Mariah Jensen, Carrie A., Lonnie Lono, Powell, Kayla E., Maggie H., Murder Stina, Kristen Marcy, Ori 81 Boricua, Look Like That One Girl, Bog Boy, Felna 63, Alita Pui, Probably My Jugs, Kate Thackeray, Wade Pack,
A Lizard, Bay J., Jay Rich, Topher Williams, Elena Metler, Valerie K., Christy Lee Kruger, Professor of Humanities Laura McCarricker, Naomi, Josh Smith, Autumn Green, Abby Kopp, Crystal 831, Skank Sinatra, Morgan Alexander, Tony Osteen, Julie Fredborg, Rihanna S., Daniel Taylor, Anna Kate, Heather Ortiz, Kim H., August, Jenny May, Old School Cool, Malik Caselli Armstrong, Scarly D., Toya Shea, Katie, Martin Shaw, Star, Tyler J., Cam Davies, Patrick Hoagland, Raven, Wesley Tart, Kristen Jackson, Jacob Nordberg, Samantha, Damian Grant, Half Price Horror, Clemmy, Nisi Nay, Jason X Rules, Aaron Norman, Victoria Smith, Patricia A. Graham, Erasmo Pena, Danielle Wright, Chuck D., Tabitha Thomas, Connie Lingus, Richard Murray, Irene, Sally Slater 52, Jordan McCarthy, Rosalind Harnius, Emily Rance, Amy, Lisa and Kathy, Mike H., Christian Sadler, Hannah, Sarah Jack, Casey L., Evelyn Knight, Paula Garcia, Nikki M., Ghastly Grandad, Megan and Alexandra Saldivar, Lisa Sykes, Kelsey Niemeyer Cook, Martina LaForce, JG, Morgan Novello, Ashley, Alex M., Brandon C., Gordon Sutherland, Georgia Renland, Ashley Poe, Diana Joe, Connor Gormley, Carrie Parker, Katie Face, Jane Pillsbury, Caitlin Asher, Mia Franz, Pooh Bear, Spicy Caldera, This is the Zodiac speaking, Jason the Ghost, Moldy Tic Tac, Brian Ward, Tanner Rutgers, Gremlin Keeper 22, Sam Spade 666, Veronica, Kristen Rhodes, Daniel Laurent, Carmito, TVR, A Very Sweepy Baby, Nicholas Rage,
A Lazy Boy, Nicola Williams, Sadison Miles, Stu Corbett, Brick O, Jada Nicole, Lost Fan 08, George L. Robertson, Mercedes X Bleeple, Joel Miller Apologist, Jaylene Perry, Cool Trainer Elijah, Mrs. Bloomingdale, Sierra Duncan, Renee Hart, Meg Like Sleep, Final Boy, Alani, Elizabeth Thompson, Joey, Michelle Nicole, The Lipstick Demon, Less Than Zombie, Franklin Badge, Sean Reeves, The Kryptonian Orphan, Melissa B, Elena C, Jillian Munford, Evil Chris, Rex Term Raoul, Witchy Poop 19, Brian Avers, Danielle Milton, Instant Horror, Just Give Me One Wish Like Ray J, Skin Deep, Christian Salvatierra, Ashay Guevara, Aaron Mr. Clean Bouchard, Henny Kravitz, Francisco Olmos, Paunchy Cat, Christina Perez, Buddy Boy Mac, Revamped, a Rewatch Podcast, Sarah Coolidge, Showlivia, Film Fiend, Catherine Clark, Brandon Brown, Jessica Hernandez, Camry, Amy Shipley like the Donuts, Jack, Alyssa Muskites, Jennifer Hager, Knox Nocturnal, Byron Pittman, Sophia Mason, Most Unholy S'more, Pear Bear, Tom Blades, Bonnie Bozell, Crystal Reddy, Stu Mocker Fokker, Sean Weeks, Chardonnay Carlina, Samira Samuels, The Chief King, Nicholas Doba, Philip Thomas, Ashley Gravely, It's Austin Buttercrush, Kimberly Martinez, James Floyd, Stephanie, Hope Mowry, Abe the Camel, DGS, Jay Taylor Art UK, and Robert Murdoch. Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Thank each and every one of you.
The truth is, y'all are the skeleton key to all of this.
Yeah.
That's
better
true.
than Jar Jar.
Yes. Well, how? How?
Why?
I don't know.
Until next time.